Let me know when you're on. You're on. All right, guys, welcome, everyone, welcome. I want to welcome you all for the Wareham Zoning Board of Appeal for tonight's meeting. And it is Wednesday, March 26, 2025. It is 6:32 p.m. and we are at room 520 at the Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. We also have an optional online Zoom if somebody wishes to be on Zoom. I'm going to call the meeting to order. I make a roll call. My far right, Mr. Troy Larson, Ms. Veronica Debonese. Far left, Associate Member, Mr. Connor Alden, Mr. Christopher Conti, Mr. Richard Sample, myself, the Chair, Nazir Akalasi. Very soon, few minutes, our clerk will be here, Mr. Jim Akabachi. We have a long night tonight, so you guys gotta bear with us and try to make it as specific as possible and as effective as possible, or otherwise we'll be here until the morning. And just to remember everyone, as the rule applies, you'll have the floor only when I give it to you. So this way it doesn't go out of hand and everybody talking on top of each other. So that goes for everyone. You ask, just raise your hand, whatever. I'll make sure I see you. If I don't see you, raise your hand again, and I'll guarantee you will hear you. And try to make it as short as possible and effective and right to the point and as civilized as possible. That being said, we're gonna start with the minutes. Approval of the minutes of 3/12/25. Did you guys, somebody read it?
I've read them, and I've made some changes, submitted them back to Sonia. She sent them back out. I think they look good. I'll make a motion to approve minutes.
Okay, we have a motion, motion to approve the minutes for 3/12/2025. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Rich. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Rich?
Aye.
Chris?
Aye.
Connor? And myself, Nazir, aye. We're gonna move to continue public hearing, 225 Neighborhood Works Housing Solution 2220 Cranberry Highway. Are they, okay, wanna come forward? All right, ladies and gentlemen, public hearing still open. I'm just gonna need your name and address.
I'll start. I'm Marion Rose from Singer & Singer and 26 Upper County Road in Dennisport. I'm here in Andrew Singer's stead.
Okay,
Cameron Campbell with DeSelberg Sala at 1266 Furnaceburg Parkway in Quincy.
okay, sir,
Robert Corley, 422 Washington Street, Quincy, Mass.
ma'am?
Melissa Desjardins with myself, Emma Desjardins Landscape Architecture. I'm at 456 Water Street in Portsmouth, Rhode Island.
All right, thank you. For the record, Mr. Jim Akabachi just came in. It is 6:34 p.m. All right, who's testifying technical, who's the owner? Owner, and who's doing technical testifying? Are you, not the attorney, no attorneys? Who, you and you, okay, we gotta swear you in, so you gotta stand up. All right, not the attorney,
No, right, I'm the attorney.
okay.
Attorneys don't have to swear themselves.
You don't have to, the owner, right? No, you don't have to. Go ahead, Jim.
You promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, nothing but the truth?
We do, thank you very much. Have a seat. All right, public hearing still open. We'll take it off where we left it. Are we going on Zoom with the counselor, or ma'am, counselor, you taking it?
I'll take it.
Okay, very well. Let's hear it. Where did we leave it last time, and where we going?
Okay, when we last met, we introduced the 40-unit, senior-only affordable housing project at 2220 Cranberry Highway. We heard from you with your questions, we heard from some neighbors, and you also authorized the peer review. So since then, what's happened in the last month is we've gotten, just last week, the peer review back, and you have a supplemental packet before you. There's a letter from Cameron, or from his firm, with draft responses to that, or preliminary responses to that. We do not have an updated site plan. We have a landscape plan, and you'll hear from Melissa Desjardins about that. It does show some of the changes that will be memorialized in the site plan. We have updated or given a response on the size of the units, and that, I believe, is what we have done. So this is an interim hearing. We expect to be back to you all after we've worked out the issues with the peer review and we have a final site plan.
All right, so I want to call Mr. Cordero. Phil, you want to come forward? Please grab a chair next to Josh. So just to make it easy, the engineers, whoever, or the designer, with Mr. Cordero, we want to see which things you don't agree on, or which one you came to an agreement, which one we put, it's all done, and which one there's an issue with. All right, Phil, let's hear it.
For the record, Phil Cordero from Allen and Major Associates. As the attorney pointed out, we issued the peer review letter last week. I spoke to Jim Burke at DeSalle Burke Sala. There were a number of comments that we raised relative to drainage, some additional testing that needed to take place on site. We asked for some clarification relative to circulation distances on the site plan. Nothing major that was going to change the intent of the design that they presented in front of this board, but a lot of technical details for zoning compliance where they didn't seek a waiver under the comprehensive permit application.
But I see I read it quick, there was a TSS removal, not enough.
There was not enough. That was a technical drainage detail. We needed to make sure they met the stormwater standards for the handbook.
We can't waive that for you, you know that.
I'm sorry, you cannot waive it because it's part of the state
Right.
standards, nor have they requested a waiver from any local bylaw standards regarding stormwater, but TSS falls under the state stormwater handbook, and they would need to meet that for this project.
So you guys working on that to
Yeah,
modify
yes.
it? Okay.
Yeah.
The waivers, what else, which waiver that we discussed last time that it's becoming a problem that we're not agreeing on?
Well, none of them are really problematic.
Right.
What we asked them to do is the Attorney Singer's waiver request letter to this board was fairly brief.
Yeah.
We asked them to simply elaborate on that for the board, so when it comes time to deliberate on a decision, they've provided to you justifications as to why they need that waiver. There are certain waivers they've asked for relative to landscape buffers and so forth that they appear they could meet on the site plans. So we've asked them to simply elaborate whether they couldn't meet them, didn't want to meet them, or what the reasoning behind it was, just simply to aid in your deliberations. And without the site plan, the response, we don't know where they're going to land, whether it's contentious or not at this point.
All right,
And-
very well. I mean, you heard it. Yes, Council.
I would add that by the next hearing, assuming that we do have the site plan, we'll have an updated waiver list.
Okay, and like I always say, you guys, if you solve your issue with Mr. Phil Cordero, it makes our life, everybody's life easier.
Right.
That being said, we start with Troy. Do you have any question, Troy?
I do not.
Just for the record also, I forget to mention, we have our town planner, Mr. Josh Flattery here also, and assistant office town planner, I forget. It's Mrs. Sonia Raposo, for the record, she's present also. All right, Veronica.
Not at this time.
All right, Jimmy, do you have a question on that project?
I don't. And I am listening, even though
Yeah,
I look very
I know.
distracted. Only listening with this ear.
Connor, do you have a question? Chris?
I'm all set right now.
Richard?
I just want to double check before you finalize any of your plans. Absolutely no water is going to go on any of the neighbors.
We hear you.
Absolutely not a drop runoff of your house, from yours, because we don't want it to come back again. All
Yeah,
right, thank you.
We've
all.
had discussions with the neighbors and to
Yep.
All right.
Well, you do your best to make sure it pitches and stays on your property.
That's
Thank you.
understood.
How you gonna, that gentleman last time complained about the water, he's at the beginning of the project. Are you bringing the water back? How you doing, the catch basin? How you gonna?
Well, we're waiting to see what DeSalle Burke opts to do. Mr. Semple, I would just clarify your comment. Zero water is not achievable. Some water will ultimately leave the site. They have to meet the stormwater standards, which the pre-development rate of runoff and volume, they can't exceed that. So they should be able to better that with the stormwater basin, but they need to prove that with the calculations. But I just want to clarify the language for you, for the abutter, if he's here tonight,
Yes.
to not create an expectation that there's never any water coming off of the site. So I would just want to correct that for you.
Can I ask about that?
You can correct me, but I think if it's in this design process, I think somebody can go above and beyond, I think. I mean, you all have your standards, but let's go a little higher on this one. But you're gonna go in there, I don't want neighbors being inconvenienced with runoff.
Yeah, maybe some grading back to their property. Go ahead, Jimmy.
My question is to Alan and Majors. Is this a pre-existing condition that we're asking this applicant to improve?
Partially. There are areas behind the existing parking lot that's out there that are running onto the neighbor's property. Because they are seeking to change the stormwater management for the existing property, it would be my opinion for you, for the board, that you could ask them to improve that situation as part of these improvements relegated to this comprehensive permit, since both of these systems, both the existing one today and what you would approve under a comprehensive permit, will work in tandem together.
They're gonna work, yeah. I guess what I'm trying to understand is if the existing units that are there today were never built, would there be water on the neighbor's property?
It's tough to say that with certainty. It depends on what the,
When I said pre-existing, I meant, you know. when
with the dinosaurs.
roamed.
Yeah. Yeah. It's tough to say. The reality is it's a very narrow site as you're entering it in. If they have the site plans, because of the way they've structured the parking lot, it's very close to the property line. When they graded out the parking lot years ago, there's some runoff that's going into the neighbor's
Okay,
property.
that's, you get what I'm saying? I mean, you know, I get it. If water's gonna run downhill and you're at the bottom of the hill, you're gonna get water. I get it. But on the other hand, if you don't wanna grade everything in that direction
Right.
just because you can. That was, you guys got it.
But just to iterate on Richard's comment, it is an addition, it's the same owner, you add in more impervious area, so there is an impact, and you have to address it regardless. So
It's gotta be improved, yeah.
it is gonna improve, but it's the impact, if there is an impact, it will be caused because you add in development, but you're gonna study this. Before we go forward, go ahead, sir.
Mr. Chairman, if I would, we met with the neighbor that's directly impacted by potential runoff currently, and he made us well aware of some of the existing conditions, as was just referenced. And so we're working diligently to solve existing conditions, as well as with the proposed project, addressing and meeting the standards for that. So we'll be meeting with him again
Right.
to discuss those things. And so we have every intention of coming back and improving the condition, not only for the new proposed building, but our existing property that we more recently came to own and be made aware of some of the runoff problems from the existing parking lot.
What's the difference in elevation between the existing and the gentleman next door? Like how much?
It's not significant from left to right, so to speak. And what's coming down the back is an existing condition that has nothing to do with, it's just there.
Right.
But the runoff from the existing parking lot, it seems that what it's supposed to be doing and how it's supposed to be functioning as designed isn't functioning properly right now, from what we looked at briefly. So we're addressing that and looking at the entire thing as a whole as much as we can. So,
Yeah, because that project was built a long time ago. There's
Yeah.
not much.
yeah.
The only thing I have, I don't, it's not a problem, but the travel time from the highway to get to that project. So you're gonna pass about 4 buildings, roughly 300 feet. Those buildings that's existing, how many? About 300 feet to get to your project, the new project?
From the street,
Yeah, from the
There's
street.
4 buildings,
From
from
the street
Cranberry
end.
Highway to get to the project. To the new project, roughly what, 300 feet? You're gonna pass those existing buildings, about 300 feet?
Yeah, I'd say probably closer to 2, but.
266, no,
I
it's
don't have-
about,
I don't have it in front of me. so-
whatever measurements, looks to me like 300. I have a little concern. I know it's 62 senior citizens, 62 and older, but let's say there's a 90-year-old person and driving. the safety measure, I know this apartments, a lot of kids live there. And what kind of safety measure, like, you're gonna take or implement from kids running, or, I mean, there's gotta be a way to address this issue. That's a long way to travel. It's about 300 feet easy. The safety measure you're gonna implement to be safe to travel from Cranberry Highway to get to the building in the back.
Mr. Chairman, we've discussed this very issue, not only for when the proposed project, if it was built, but even during construction and things like that. So we're very, so you're highlighting something that we have highlighted ourselves. We feel that the back of the properties is currently where the children tend to, be mostly. And I know that sometimes isn't always the case. Kids like to ride their bikes or skateboards or things like that in the parking lot. So as far as where we think the children will be, we're fully activating the rear of the property, enhancing that, and bringing more amenities to the rear of the property where the traffic flow, if this is built, will certainly not be on a regular basis. So when it comes to the safety going back and forth, it's already, it's already a parking lot, and there's safety concerns there for the existing houses, people parking there, but it's primarily parking, and it has that center corridor. So like if we put speed humps or something in there, we're not necessarily concerned about speed. We feel like the travel lane in there is right in the middle and very visible.
I understand, and I understand you're increasing the playground, but I was a kid, and knowing kids, you build them beautiful park, they still wanna go where they're not allowed.
Yes, I know, yep.
And I don't know, how do you feel about speed bumps? Because speed bump, it makes you slow down. I know it's horrible stopping and picking up, but I don't know, but the engineer, Mr. Cordero, or anybody has ideas with them, or experience with them, maybe every 50 feet one, or at least when you enter from Cranberry Highway, if you go on and flying in, there's a bump, so you automatically slow down. At least one about 30 feet in. So it paid you attention and started to keep going. Maybe 30 feet in and 30 feet coming from the project, from the back. So when you take off, you have to slow down for the bump, and you pay attention. Because sometimes, you don't know, you're tired or whatever, who knows? And maybe elderly person doesn't notice. We just want to avoid problems. And there's a lot of kids in that project.
Yeah, I think it's a good suggestion, and we can definitely look at it. It really wouldn't do no harm to have one or two.
A slight one.
Because
doesn't have to be a big one.
They're operating slow there, as long as it doesn't impact our parking and, those other
There's a
things.
lot of yellow visibility lines and
Cattle
stuff.
grid,
What?
cattle grid, the bars.
The
that you drive-
noise, yeah.
Yeah.
That keeps the cows from coming in, yep.
Yeah.
Yeah, it does make a noise and does have an
Makes
impact.
it, and nobody wants to go over it quick.
Yeah. Yeah.
Whatever,
And
something
it's
that's-
got good drainage, and
We'll
it can plow well.
We'll come back with some suggestions on that. I think it's a good idea, because we've been thinking about it as well.
Anything to make
Yeah.
people pay attention.
Yeah.
And they aware when they come in or they leave in, there's a bump, slow down,
Yeah.
and maybe a sign, watch children. And you want to implement a lot of pictures, slow down, children playing along the whole parking lot getting there. So we want to see on the next plan a lot of signs.
Yes, sir.
Do you
Got
agree,
it.
Phil?
Mr. Chair, I agree with the speed control, some speed humps, at least one at the entrance. Signage is touchy. You can over-sign things and then people start to ignore them. But you definitely, as part of the MUTCD manual, you do need to have warning signs for a speed hump. So those should be considered, and I'm sure DeSalle will do that.
I would recommend 2 speed bumps at the beginning and at the end, and 2 signs, at least both sides for each bump. Okay, I know I don't want to put 100 signs, but at least at each bump from both sides, children playing, those, you know what I'm saying? those
Yes.
signs. All right, that means we're gonna go to the public. Anyone here want to speak on this matter, for this project, in favor or against? Anyone here for this project? I don't see anyone. On Zoom, anyone here?
Not at this time.
But somebody there,
The director Butter is here. I just want to make sure he knows that if he would like to speak, he can, but I don't know if he recognized you.
sir, did you want to speak on this matter?
Have to, but I just want.
Yeah. I think,
Yeah, sure.
good job.
We're running out of chairs, sorry. Have a seat. Have a seat. Just state your name and address, sir.
Raymond Faber, 2226 Cranberry Highway, West Wareham, Mass.
Okay, did you hear the argument we talked about your property for water, so they're gonna do the best they can to address it?
I understood some of it, but, I don't know, these speed bumps, is that going to interfere with the water flow or something?
No.
No, it don't?
Absolutely not. They will interfere with their own property, so the water will go left and right in their property. It's not like it's gonna direct it to your property.
And I don't know whether, on the new part, whether some is going to come on the old existing part. I think it will. In other words, all the new development, some of that water is going to come in the existing parking lot. And I don't think that's going to be good.
All right, I'll let the engineer, who did the stormwater, sir? You wanna answer that?
Yeah, so we did an analysis. We broke it at the back of the existing buildings to determine if we were putting more water into the existing property. Right now, we're not. As mentioned
I know, but I want you to tell me what are your improvement. I don't want you to tell me you're doing, how good you're doing there. What are you gonna improve in the existing
in the
building?
existing,
So.
so.
And you're gonna improve to, protects the gentleman
Yeah, so
property.
currently, the existing parking lot sheet flows towards his property, and there's no curbing that stops the water. So we're currently looking at either installing curbing or installing a, like rain detention strip along the edge of the asphalt to collect the water before it gets to his property.
Okay,
Those are the options we're looking
That's
at. We
good.
haven't done a full analysis of it yet, but.
that's good. All right, you hear that, sir? So like a big catch basin across like the road, so that, geez, forget the word.
Open
Attract
across
the
the whole
water before
road?
it goes to your property.
They're trying to intercept it before it gets to you, sir.
Open across the whole width of the, not a catch basin.
No, it'd be
open.
like along the edge of the pavement, they're called rain gardens, but it's just like a nice mulch bed, but
Like
they're
this
made to infiltrate water.
Swale
It
along
would
this
be,
edge. It would look
Can I
similar to
ask,
contour.
do you mind,
Up here to- and here.
1 second.
So we make this part lower, catch it before it runs over.
We lost it.
Because he already has a place where he's storing water right here, so he doesn't just depression, so he could easily just bring these contours
Well,
out,
hold on.
bring them up and try to make that lower.
All right, that's enough,
Well, you're gonna
man.
have
Sir, which one is your house, the left or the right?
On the right.
Oh, on the right there.
his property is,
Yeah, that
Right
whole
there.
block,
This
yeah,
whole
that
area
that
right
whole
here.
block, the 1 3/4 acres.
Okay,
yeah, his property is this block right there.
okay.
all right, did you understand what the lady explained to you?
Well, the picture here is, I don't know, what did you say about these?
If you go back to my plan, the landscape plan, so I can explain it to everyone.
There's a clicker here.
Thank you.
Perfect. The little,
Do I just press this part?
the little sun button, bottom.
Okay.
There you go.
There's already a depression right here, so we could easily connect, well, I don't want to speak for the engineer.
Right.
Potentially connect to this depression by having a swale run along this edge. So we make this part lower, and then the water can collect in this part, into this little,
And you,
that
sir,
ain't gonna-
hold on, sir, you gotta hold on. When you collect it there, what do you have, like a riprap, or do you have a catch basin, what do you have to contain?
It's
it?
something we're still looking at, but you could put riprap, or you can do, the rain gardens are like mulch beds, but they're depressions, and you put a special soil in it that is more infiltrative. So
But
you-
is there any catch basin on the existing parking lot there right now?
There's one right in the center of the parking lot, but it kind of gets bypassed by a good portion of the parking lot, and that's tied into a big dry well.
Okay.
Yeah,
And in the front half of the roofs of those buildings are also tied into the dry well.
All right, so I think, I don't know, Phil, what do you think about this or feel about it? I think they have to get a catch basin and a silt filter and go to the drainage, to the back, to the leaching drainage.
Mr. Chair, they definitely could do that. Just giving some opinions for your consideration, their consideration. Everything is trying to go to that catch basin by their dumpster, and it's bypassing it. As their engineer pointed out, if they're considering curbing, that's a great improvement, because now it's going to force that water into the catch basin. That should be number one. The rain garden, while being low-impact development, is a good technique. You're right against a wood line that once that gets cluttered with leaves, then it's not going to function the way that they're suggesting. So the choices may want to be the additional catch basin, the curbing, or a graded swale that runs into their new stormwater basin the entire length of that property.
And you think what he's talking about will absorb the amount of water?
It can. It can.
All right. Did you hear that, sir?
Yeah, I don't think that proposed pond is going to be higher than the low spot in the existing parking lot. It ain't going to flow uphill. I think there's about at least a foot difference. That catch basin there, I don't know what the elevation is. You got the elevation on that catch basin here? Oh, this one. You don't even show it here.
Yeah. This is
Sir, let the gentleman explain to you, the way they will grade it to go, apparently, it's gotta pitch the way they grade it. It's not, what are you saying, it's gonna pitch to your house down, it's not going that way. I understand they pitch the road towards the highway, but they diverting the water back to that little area they're gonna make. Do you understand?
It ain't going to go up. What's the
But the
elevation?
water go downhill. If they do it the way you're saying, apparently they're not gonna be able to collect it. So they are designing it on the plan to go back to where they wanna intercept it.
No, you got an elevation of 75 and a half feet in that pond. And that catch basin is lower than 75 and a half feet. You've got to raise up the parking lot, the existing one, to make it flow uphill.
It's definitely something we have to look at for the grading to see if we can swale to the back.
And that catch basin that's there now only drains about 50 feet out of the 300 feet.
These plans for that.
No, this is something else.
And that,
Well, yeah, go ahead, sir.
and that,
You gotta get to the mic. 1 second, let this gentleman see.
Mr. Chairman, our butter is a civil engineer, so he's astute, and we met and we discussed this, all these issues, and we haven't had the opportunity to present to him, based on the suggestions we're hearing tonight, a plan that we think, including how much a charge it will hold, so that he can review it. So we're not at, so just to clarify, we will be back again, and there'll be an opportunity for input, or whether he's satisfied with what we've come up with at that point.
All right.
So we're not, just to be clear, we're not looking for, we don't expect him to be satisfied until he actually sees the real plan.
All right, is that a way, how's that, Mr., what's your last name, sir?
favor, F-A-V-A.
Bailiff?
F-A-V-A, favor.
Oh, Mr. Favor, okay, so if, how is it, when they finish the plan, if they could send you one? And apparently, because you're an engineer, you'll be able to read it well.
Yeah.
When they design that and finish it, he'll take your address and overnight you a plan, and you look at it. And so next time we come, you'll point to us on the grades that you have an issue with, that it doesn't work. How's that? That
good.
make sense?
Yeah.
Yeah, Mr. Chairman, we will do that, but we also met with him in person.
Yeah.
And we will schedule that again to go over the plan in person, as well as make sure he has a copy.
Okay.
Did you say copy or coffee?
Copy and coffee.
It sounds to me, sir, like they really want to treat you right.
I hope so.
I hope so, too. Because we got a stinker of a building commissioner, and he probably won't sign off unless they do.
77, the existing, so you saying in front of the existing is 78, then it goes down towards your property, it's 77, right? About a foot. But if they put this berm, they will catch it and divert it to the back. Do you know what I'm saying?
Well, yeah, I know what you're saying, but I don't think it's gonna work.
Why you don't think it's gonna work? If they put a berm and divert it to a catch basin in the back, towards the last building where that tree is on that corner, and they berm it from the beginning to the end, it's all 77 and 78 in front of the existing building, it's gonna pitch down, the curb will catch it and take it all the way down. You don't think it'll work?
Let them try it, let them look at it.
I think once they see it,
Yeah,
Yeah.
questions
It's
will be
gonna-
answered.
yeah.
I think this is
It'll
the best way.
pull. If you're gonna put a berm on the edge of the,
Well, we don't exactly know what they're gonna do, but they're gonna meet with you before the next meeting. So
And it'll be reviewed by the peer review.
you'll have a real good idea of what's going on.
Nothing gonna happen tonight. They're gonna draft the plan, you look at it, and you give us your comments. Apparently, your comments are valid, and you know what you're talking about, so we will definitely take them into consideration. So if you don't mind, before you leave, you give the engineer your name and
you
address,
already
and he'll
got it.
send you a copy of the final plan they're gonna draft. How's that? Is that good?
okay.
Very good. Thank you, Mr. Fava. Anyone else? In favor or against? Anyone on Zoom? Anthony, no? All right. When's the next, ma'am, Counselor?
We would like a month. We'd
A
like.
month?
Yes,
You want to come back April 23?
that sounds like a good idea.
All right. All right. Okay. Can we get a motion to move this until the 23rd?
So
Continue it.
moved.
We have a motion by Mr. Akabachi to continue 2-25 Neighborhood Works Housing Solution, comprehensive permit 2220 Cranberry Highway till April 23rd. Do I have a second on Jim's?
Second?
Second by Mr. Sample. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
All right.
Richard?
Aye.
And Nazi, myself, aye. We will see you on the 23rd. Do what you have to do with the gentleman, with Mr. Cordero, and we narrow it down, and hopefully we'll have a verdict next time.
Thank you.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman, thank you.
And now we'll have some seats in this room, too.
All right, we're gonna move to public hearings, 2-21, Settlers Grand 40B Comprehensive Permit, an extension request for 3128B Cranberry Highway.
Before I read this,
Go ahead.
we just ask, I know I was 4 minutes late. Did you guys vote on the meeting minutes?
500.
500. Okay. Approve.
Yeah, Chris, not you.
Right,
The minutes,
that's
Chris.
okay.
I did the motion, Rick, second.
And it was on, it was recorded, so,
Right,
yeah.
Get the second on that
I
one.
just got you.
Yeah, he said Rick.
And we
but
just
I
did
thought Troy.
500 on this one.
Troy and Rick are the same thing, right? And Chris, obviously Chris and Rick are the same thing. We all look alike.
How are you?
All right, new public hearing. Need, you gotta give us a minute to read it onto records and go from there.
Okay, I gave you, oh, gave you too many? One too many, okay.
Leave this to Plana.
Usually I'm a half hour early. Tonight, 4 minutes late, I feel all behind. You ready? The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on March 26, 2025 at 6:30 PM in room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571. To consider a substantial change to petition number 2-21, a comprehensive permit under Mass General Law, Chapter 40B, represented by Michael P. O'Shaughnessy, to change tenure from rental to ownership for 20 units of affordable ownership homes located at Settlers Glen, 3128B Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass. This would appear on Assessors Map 8, Lot 1007C, in the MR30/Strip Commercial District. So part of the property is in MR30, part of the property is Strip Commercial.
Very well. Name and address for the record?
Michael O'Shaughnessy, I'm the attorney for Settlers Glen LLC in Middleborough, Massachusetts. Mr. Chairman,
Sir.
Ivo Cole, member manager of Settlers Glen LLC, 22 South Main Street, Carver, Mass.
All right. So let's hear what's happening. I know you guys keep going back and forth. Are you the owner from day one, or you bought it from somebody?
I bought it from M.
Wherever they are, but
Naka, yeah.
when you bought it, it was a rental or sale?
It was a for-sale project.
Okay, because originally it was rental, they moved it back to sale, and now you're here for, let's hear it.
That's it.
No, it was originally
It
sale.
was the other
and
way
they mo-
around, so we purchased it as a
Oh,
for-sale
okay.
project, and my intention was to have it as a rental project for the long term. And I'll let
So now what do you want to do it? Quick answer.
Quick answer is we want to go back to for sale.
So, okay, let's hear it.
Mr. Chairman, thank you very much. Michael O'Shaughnessy for the record. As you folks are aware, this project was originally permitted back in 2021. It's a 20-unit, 2- and 3-bedroom project for sale. My client purchased it several months after you folks approved it. We had petitioned the board later that year to change it to rental, and you folks approved that back in May of 2022, is the following year. Again, it went to hack and all that other stuff. So again, as Mr. Cole said, originally when we made the change, we were planning to keep this long-term. Things have changed, which is why we're back before this board and asking you folks to approve the change back to for sale. Once we get this change, hopefully approved, we got to finish the final approval process and get this thing under construction.
All right, so you want to move back with the same exact conditions we
wanna go-
we
yeah.
implied back when it was for sale, same exact.
We want to go back to the original permit, effectively.
All right, and this project's been going back and forth and back and forth.
This was,
If this board agrees to do this, if the board gives you a yes, it's gonna be definitely with no extension, so it feels to me like you guys buying time, which is fine. I know, I'm a businessman, I understand. If we are to grant this request, I would definitely, if you ever come back for an extension, I won't give it to you. So we gotta put this thing to bed, and this construction site for 3 years there and nothing happening. You
So-
understand? So if we give it to you, whatever the rules say, it's good for a year, you have to act within a year. We will not give you an extension. I won't. I don't know the rest of the board. I won't give you an extension. Go ahead, sir.
so that dovetails into the second reason we're here tonight, asking for an extension to the permit. We were here last year, we asked for 3 years, this board granted us
Well,
one.
you're changing the permit. You're changing it back to sale.
We're changing it back to sale. We're also asking you folks to extend the term of the permit tonight to May 26, 2027.
All right, let's hear it from the board. Troy?
I don't really have any questions at this time.
Veronica? You were at this project, right? You understand?
I'm glad to know that it's going back to sale, because I think that would be better for the town. I have no problem with the amount of time.
Jimmy?
My position is very simple. When we approved this, we approved it for sale units. I was opposed to converting it from for sale units to rental units. Thus, I am in favor of reverting it back. As far as the extension or request for extension, the public notice doesn't include language requesting an extension. I'm not sure if my memory serves me correctly or not, but it seems to me that our governor, in her illustrious wisdom, passed some rule that any plans that were in limbo right now get an automatic 2-year extension.
That's passed. That was for 24 only.
That was for
Not now.
24 over, it no longer applies.
Yeah,
One at a time. Josh?
it was for permits that were in effect to a certain date. It sounds like their permit was in effect, so it would be granted a 2-year extension.
I included it in your packet.
Okay, 1 second.
So,
One
go ahead.
That bylaw the governor made, wasn't it from permits granted between January 1st and December 31st, 24?
It was for permits in effect,
In effect.
so that were approved and, were approved, in effect, so an active approval.
2 years from the approval they had. When were they approved? When were you approved?
It was approved in 2021, it was extended to May 2025.
I think it was 2 years from the expiration date.
Right.
Correct.
So
So you
therefore,
already-
I continue with my contention that there's no need for an extension.
Well, I'd like to address that point. I believe the statute or the act that you're referring to accepts 40B permits from the extension.
It excludes them?
Yes, yes. I think
Okay,
yes.
so you want to cross your Ts and dot your Is? That's what you get paid
If this
for.
board has given us the 2 years, I'd be happy to take it, and
But
thank
you're
you
only
very
asking
much.
for one.
We're asking for 2. Right now, it's extended up to May, this May. We're asking to May 2027, 2 more years.
I personally, I don't. Richard, I'm not in for it. Richard,
Well,
I'll do
I-
1 year personally. Go ahead.
I understand your, back your decision when you're saying they won't come back, but at the same time, you don't want to handicap them to the point of where they can't finish their project. So I would be in favor of giving them only one extension only. And then just quick, did you come for a minor or a major modification on the last one? To switch it from rental?
I wasn't involved with the previous change, sir.
No, it doesn't need much modification to extend,
Well, I'm
to
just
change
wondering
it.
if they came back. I thought they came back and we had to approve whether it was a minor.
We did,
or
we
moderate.
We did, and we said,
there
no,
any-
they went to court and they won. Remember, they sued us and
Well,
they
I
won.
can't remember what the decision.
Well, we said yes for, no for rental, and they went to housing, and housing said yes. I remember it's 410. I said, it's okay rental. You guys said no rental, and went to court, and it was approved rental.
Okay, thank you.
Chris?
I do remember this applicant, and I'm happy it's going back to for sale, too, and I get no problems with the extension.
For 2 years? It's okay, you're okay with 2
I'm
years?
okay with 2 years.
Well, we'll vote on it anyway. Connor, you have a comment on that, buddy?
I wasn't here for the original project, obviously, but... Oh, sorry. Yeah, I was just saying that I wasn't here for the original project, but if they feel like they need 2 years and the board's willing to grant it, then that's how it is.
All right, going back to me, I don't think in these 2 years, I think, quite frankly, I think you're buying time, which is, I understand, but you're just buying time trying to, whatever you're doing. I don't think you're serious in building it, trying to sell it or something. Whatever the case, good for you. I'm not, God love, whatever, I hope you make $1 billion, but I hate every time I drive by it, it's just sitting there. So, but that being said, then again, I'm only one vote. We're gonna go to the public. Anyone here in favor of this matter, in favor first, of changing it to sale? None. Anyone here against this project, to change it to sale? So we have nothing either way.
What about online?
Not this time.
Okay.
All right, that's always good. Final thoughts before we close?
Again, Mr. Chairman, I think the change to for sale, I think, I get the impression that the board is favorable to that request, and I would ask for the 2 additional years. It gives us time, and it as you said, we don't know what's going to happen. It allows us time to get our final approval and get under construction.
I'm going to ask a question.
Go ahead.
So, I'm a little bit confused. I don't know if I don't think I'm confused. Maybe concerned is the word. I hear the chairman's question, and to be more direct, right now there seems to be a housing shortage. And anytime I see anybody build anything, it's often sold before it's completed. I watched 3 houses go up on Minot Avenue, the 4th one to be built, and they didn't even have the lawn seeded, and there were cars in the yard and smoke coming out of the chimney, even though there was no chimney. So I don't quite grasp the need for 2 years, because it smacks of, I bought this project and I'm trying to sell the paper. Let me put it in layman's terms. I bought this project and I want somebody else to come develop it. I just want to make money flipping the project. Is that what's going on here?
I believe the final approval through the housing as a 40B project is going to take some time. We originally wanted to do that, like we said, as a for rental project, but we're looking at it now and it makes more sense as a for sale project. And in order for us to get that final approval from Mass Housing, we have to get it switched to for sale first. So that's still going to be a process for us to get final approval done. So that's why 1 year is a little
You think
tight.
it's going to take you a year just to get the state to say okey dokey?
I think it's going to probably take 5 to 6 months.
5 to
So
6.
now we're in the fall.
Okay.
And then, again, I don't know how things are going to play out. We could be into winter season, and then we're working next spring, and I don't know. We're asking for the 2 years just to give us some time to get under construction. I think what would be a fair, as I sit here right now, if you folks want to see some progress on this, which is what I'm hearing, I think it's fair to say that, we tie it to when we get our final approval from Mass Housing. We'll apply to Mass Housing for final approval within, I don't know, 3 months of your vote, and then if we get it by the end of the year, you give us the extra time to build it. I mean, there's a way to creatively do that, so you folks see that we're actually moving forward with something. Whether it's us building it at the end of the day or someone else, that final approval is a necessary component.
So I'm hearing you, and it sounds like, you want to try to work something out, and I get it. Are you currently approved to go forward for rental units, or you've never even taken it? You're not approved for anything?
We're not approved for anything. Part of the analysis is we have to redo our pro forma and all that stuff. And as this board knows, construction costs, interest rates, and all those things have changed. And that's part of our decision-making here. So when we go back to Mass Housing, we have to do that. We basically have to reapply is what it is for a final approval from them to get this approved. It just takes time.
No,
Yeah.
it's like trying to deal with City Hall.
It's not that bad, but it just takes time. And again, at the end of the day, I don't know what's going to happen a year from now. We could get 10 feet of rain or whatever. I
get it. So I'm looking at my chair, and I'm wondering, I feel as though our chair is pretty stuck on a year. I'm wondering if there's any feeling about tying it to their approval date, if they break ground or do.
We'll go for the vote. Let's go for the vote.
Okay.
All right.
Okay.
Anything else before we close?
That's all I have, Mr.
All
Chair.
right, let's move to close, please.
So moved.
I have a motion to close 2-21 Settlers Grand 3128B Cranberry Highway by Mr. Akbachi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Mr. Larson. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, Nazir, aye. It's closed. We go first for switching it back to sales. Do I have a motion on that?
Yeah, I move that we approve this to be swapped back to a for-sale project.
We're gonna, ma'am, you gotta be, it's the echo here, ma'am, excuse me, hello. We hear you a lot, so we can hear it, makes an echo here, so just try to be quiet or go outside. Counselor, can you draft that decision for the,
Absolutely.
Mr. Akabachi's
Absolutely.
motion?
Yes.
And send it to us?
Yes.
So we have a motion to convert it back to sales, to the project to sales, and the council will draft the decision. Do I have a second on Jim's motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Sample. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, aye. So it's back to sales. On the extension, can I have a motion? No, your motion for 2 year, 1 year.
Go ahead, somebody else do
Richard,
that.
your motion?
Yeah, I make a motion to give a 2-year extension.
He make a motion with Mr. Sample, the extension give an extension, 2 year extension. Do I have a second? Second for Mr. Sample. Any second?
Second.
Second by Troy. All in favor, say aye. Troy.
Aye.
Veronica.
Aye.
Jimmy.
Aye.
Richard.
Aye.
And me, no. It carries 410. Okay, so you get the extension and you get this transfer.
Thank you very much for your
So
time,
draft your decision.
and I'll get it to
Thank you
Sonia.
very much.
Thank you very much for your time.
Have a
Thank
good
you.
one.
Have a good night.
Have a good night. All right, we're gonna move to Atlas Roofing and Construction for 412th Street.
Thank you. Can I have the, whatever you guys don't want from the last one? Anything you want to keep, keep.
All right,
You want a copy of this? Yeah. Just bear with us for a second.
Take your time, thank you.
So we're skipping,
no, we're going to,
we're
Next one's
skipping.
425.
oh, 425, oh, okay.
We-
If I may, are you
be-
with Atlas?
Yeah.
All right, if I may, I want to table counselor from for Rosebrook, who's the counselor? Do you mind if we table you to the end, because these are easy one, we go quick, and because we're gonna be late with you, or no?
It's your meeting, Mr. Chairman, you can take it in any order you want.
I mean, I have to go, but you fine? Okay,
What
very
a
well.
politically correct answer.
All right.
Thank you.
All right, so,
Thank you.
okay.
So we're going to 525.
525, yes. We'll go with you next, because the other one takes time, so we'll go with you next. Thank you.
No, I need one, yeah, and one for you. Oh, you know what? I'm always passing one too few. I keep forgetting Connor down there. Let's get one down to Connor.
He doesn't look like Rick, that's why you can't pass it to him.
What's that?
He doesn't look like Rick?
Well, he doesn't, you know, I got it, yeah.
What?
No, I keep calling Rick,
I'll take
Veronica,
it,
and
'cause it's a
Chris,
lot
and
younger.
everything else. You know, so he's giving me a hard time because of my, just because I'm suffering from Alzheimer's, they're giving me trouble, you know?
It's mean.
The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing on March 26, 2025 at 6:30 PM in room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 5-25 for a variance or a special permit from the requirements of Article 6, Section 628, and Article 13, Sections 1352 and 1353 of the Wareham zoning bylaws to Atlas Roofing and Construction, Inc. of 102 Hedges Pond Road, Unit 2, Plymouth, Mass. 02360, proposing to repair a deck and replacement of first and second story located at 412th Street, Wareham, Mass. This appears on Wareham Assessors Map 1, Lot 181, in the Onset Village 2 zoning district.
All right, ma'am, name, address?
Yeah, sure. My name is Rebecca Moore. My address is 90 Tupper Road in Sandwich. I am the property owner. Basically, the deck is in major disrepair. It's rotten. It's not safe. I'm surprised we haven't had anybody injured yet. So my contractor applied to repair or replace. I think it may end up as a full replacement of the existing deck. And it's a set of stairs, and it goes to the second floor egress for the units on the second floor. So it's really, it's a safety issue. It's not because I want to spend a ton of money to replace the deck. It's going to be basically the same size, and we're looking, I guess it's going to become 6 inches closer to the right-hand sideline because of the way that the codes are, as opposed to when the deck and the house were built. The footings and the posts are going to be slightly larger than they are now.
What's the region you have to extend it? Is it building code?
Yes. So he applied for a building permit. It was denied based on the fact that we're a pre-existing non-conforming lot.
I understand.
The sideline existing is 2 feet from the lot line right now, and the proposed, after the deck would be complete, the proposed distance would be 2.2 feet. So it's a 6-inch difference on the right-hand side.
It says here, existing 2.5, and you want to make it 2.2, you're making it less.
That's what I thought when I saw this plan, but that's what they said, is existing 2.5
Right.
feet away, and the proposed is going to be 2. I think he's flipped it. I think he's got it wrong. Because what the building commissioner wrote was apparently, according to what the
No,
the
but looking at the plan, it's right. It's right, 2.5. When you're going down further, when you're going south, because it's in an angle, it's gonna increase. So the plan is right. So you making it,
Oh, because it's getting wider, is that?
it's getting wider. Unless you're making the whole deck wider. Are you pushing it more?
We're not pushing it. We're not changing the location. So I think that just because of the size of the footings, it's gonna get pushed out slightly. But I was confused because I've not seen the plans for the deck because it's not gonna change. So when he applied, this was
Who's the contractor?
Atlas Roofing,
Where are
Paul Case.
Where are they? Are they here tonight?
No. No, and then Mr. Turner, apparently, I think that maybe the plot plan guy maybe wrote it wrong. I don't know. I can't.
The only thing would justify this, if the landing has to be 48 inches after the steps. The only thing, this is your hardship. If you don't have 48 inches, I understand you need that and you need the hardship.
Okay.
But if you have 48 inches on the bottom of the stairs and you want 50, there's no reason for the 2 extra inches. You understand?
I do. I don't, I'm not a contractor. I don't know how it would end up, but
Well, I think the best way you have your contractor here, we start asking questions.
Which way does the stair run?
It doesn't matter. You need 48 inches pad here. It
So-
has to be 48 inches clear here.
Whether it's on the second floor or at the
It
ground?
don't matter. You need 48-inch platform. So he probably don't have 48. That's why he pushed it out. But we don't know unless we see a real plan. But hang there. Troy, what do you have a question?
I don't.
Veronica.
No, I don't have any question.
Yes, hold on one second. Jimmy.
I'm still, the existing deck is here, the stairs are here, so are we talking about a difference of .3 feet, 3 inches?
Yeah,
Is that this whole thing is about, 3 inches?
yeah. But if we don't need it, why should we?
Okay.
see, it's,
Ma'am, ma'am, one at a time. I'll give you the floor, you speak. Richard, go ahead, buddy.
I'm done, yeah.
I'm good.
Chris?
I'm all set. According to the plan, though, it looks like they're, the existing, it says 2.5, and they're gonna go 2.2 is the proposed.
And that's what the commissioner's saying, okay. So you okay with it? That's the question.
I'm okay.
Connor? Sir, you wanna come forward?
what were you?
Are you with the applicant or against or for? Are you a neighbor?
He's my co-owner.
Co-owner, wanna come forward? Maybe you could explain it better. The way it looks and the commissioner putting it, he's saying you at 2.5 and you wanna go 2.2, but the reason you're here, because you're extending your non-conformity, that's why you're here. Sir, your name and address.
Kurt Moore, 180 School Street, Marston's Mills, Massachusetts.
Okay.
So, and I may be ill-informed, but I believe that the reason that they were asking to make the deck any larger at all is just the fact that it's currently on 4x4 posts, and it
Right.
met, standards at that time. And now they're gonna have to go to a 6x6 or an 8x8 post. So in order to fit all that underneath the deck, they were supposedly just gonna have to expand it a small amount. So, but now I know there's a ton of confusion about whether or not it's getting larger or smaller. I'm not.
Right, it is getting smaller. I'm reading his thing, you're getting smaller, but it requires a variance or a special permit because you are a non-conforming regardless.
Exactly.
That's very good. Do you want to add anything, ma'am?
No.
No? Anyone in here in favor of this project? Anyone here against? On Zoom? Nobody? Final thoughts from the board, anybody?
I don't think it's detrimental to the neighborhood, too.
Okay.
I agree with Mr. Conti, and I feel for 3 inches, if there's nobody from the neighborhood yelling
Well,
and
it's getting
screaming.
better, actually.
Yeah.
All right,
Um,
we're gonna
why
need
make 'em
motion
come
to
back?
close first.
So moved.
We have a motion to close this public hearing. It is, which one is this one? 5-25 Atlas Roofing and Construction, 412th Street. So we have a motion to close by Mr. Akabachi. Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Troy. All in favor to close, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, aye. It's closed. We're gonna see first if
I have a comment, if I can.
Yep.
we'll discuss it on the motion. You'll make a comment on the motion.
Well, I just want to make a comment about, before we make the motion, because it looks to me that these are obviously not to scale. According to how this is drawn, if they go back to the building department, this is definitely not a .3 extension of a deck, which is what it looks like.
Say that again?
If you look at the drawing,
Yeah.
there's an extension of the nonconformity in, right? That's really what they're doing, and it looks like it's more than .3,
Where's your reading?
right? So, no, so if you,
She's saying the difference between here and here
yeah,
is, what,
Yeah.
I get what you're saying, but I also get why,
It's
how
more
you're
than
reading
4
it.
inches, you mean?
What they're
What is-
showing us here.
what is the length of the extension, is the question, is my question, because that should be how it's written.
I think the size is the same one, they're just replacing it. Or you're gonna extend it, make it bigger.
No, it's just this, it's gonna be exactly what's there.
Oh, it's exactly what's there, because
Yeah.
it says, you have a perimeter here that says, it looks like it's existing, and then you have
Yeah.
proposed.
This is, but
I think, but the scale is so weird here, because on this 8.5 by 11 sheet, which is what the plot plan guy provided me stamped, it's 1 foot on this, 1 inch on this is 40 feet, so it's almost like you can't even see it on this plan.
Hold on 1 second, man. Who stamped this?
this is the, what do you call it when you buy a house? This is
Surveyor.
not the
Surveyor.
No,
It does
the
look like the survey
mortgage
plan,
man.
yeah.
the mortgage plan. This is out of the bank's.
No, this cost me like $1,700. No, this was a certified plot plan. He went and actually did an instrument survey.
Okay, so there is a big copy of this, you just photocopied.
No, I don't have a big copy.
Well, somebody created one and you
Oh,
just,
I did this. Yes.
what I mean is, this comes off of a real,
Yeah, it comes off of this.
somewhere in a CAD program on a
right,
computer
all right.
somewhere.
Yeah, because what I submitted was the stamped one with his signature.
All right, no more
That's what he
discussion.
gave
This
me.
thing is closed. We shouldn't be talking. Hold on a second, please.
Do you see what I'm saying, Naz? It looks like, I mean, the extension looks like it's, according to this plan, it almost looks like it's like a 4 or 5 foot extension on,
About 4 inches, yeah.
It's not feet.
Front, yeah.
No, she's talking about length.
well, this, see,
On-
the steps look like they're here
The steps
existing.
are-
And then he has this line that shows that that's proposed, which is certainly at least half of those stairs in width. I'm just saying, if they get to the building department, I just wanted to tell you.
Hold on 1 second, please.
The
You
thing
know what I'm
that,
saying?
I see what you're saying, but then, again, at the same time, where it says proposed and existing, it has 2.2 with no foot mark. Then the next one for the existing is 2.5, and it has a foot mark after it. So it's either 2.2 feet or 2 feet 2 inches. And I don't know if you exactly know, but you can't do that when it comes to feet and just put 2.2, so.
All right, let me read this. That's from the commissioner. The proposed rebuilding of the existing porch within the north side setback yard, not the extending the yard, the rebuilding of the deck, so they're not
Yeah.
making it bigger.
Yeah.
The rebuilding of the deck, the existing structure is 2.5 feet from the lot line, while the proposed is 2.2 feet. In order to move forward this project, you will need to obtain a zoning relief from the zoning board. So the relief is because they exist in non-conforming. Even if you're doing it 5 feet, you still need a relief from us That's all what it is. They not, the
So-
deck is,
I may
Okay,
have
so
misspoken.
it's just the footing that's
No more
changing. I'm
comments from
sorry,
the
I just want to
public.
make sure that you get the wording right, so you don't have a problem when you go down there.
all right. We need a motion now. If the board feel it not so much detrimental and we're gonna act upon it as a special permit, we need a motion. If not, we'll continue with the variance. So what's the board wish?
I move that it has not been found detrimental to the neighborhood, and we should act upon this as a special permit.
Okay, we have a motion to act on this as a special permit.
I'll
Do I have a
second.
Second by Mr. Debonese. Do I have a, all in favor, say aye. Mr. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, Nazir, aye. So it's a special permit. Going to the special permit, what's the wishes?
I motion that we grant relief as requested.
All right, we have a motion, Mr. Akabachi, to grant a relief from this board as requested, and our findings would be not detrimental, substantially detrimental to the neighborhood, and the porch will be rebuilt according to plans issued by Mr. John Lawrence Libby, an architect, land surveyor, and it was stamped on February 5th, 2025. Do I have a second on Jim's motion?
Second.
Second by Mr. Semple. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, aye. It carries. Thank you. You're
Thank you
good.
very much.
You're welcome. Have a good one. Okay, where is that one?
So your deck is a wreck.
The deck is a wreck. Yes, hopefully soon it will not be.
Thank you.
All right,
Thank you.
4-25, RPB-2 LLC, comprehensive permit 40B, 200 Rosebrook Way.
Now, is this where we have to ask permission to bring it off table?
We're gonna go for it.
Okay.
Do we,
$500.
I don't care about
My
people.
presentation up.
Got nothing to do with it, right? I just wanted to just make sure that we,
It is an order. We should have done before.
yeah, but what he's saying is that we tabled it to take that one, so should we
Right.
bring it back off the table to make sure?
that's what I'm
Oh,
saying.
you mean need a vote?
Yeah, so
Okay,
we need
sure,
a vote to
absolutely.
bring it back off.
Yes,
He missed-
sir.
He missed what you were saying,
Absolutely.
Richard.
No, I'm sorry, I didn't make it clear, so.
Absolutely, definitely. Well, we should have voted to table it, okay?
So from now on, we're gonna vote
Yes,
to
sir,
table it.
you're absolutely right. All right, before we go forward, can I get a motion, because we tabled this, we need a motion to rehear it. A motion to rehear this matter, the 4-25 RPB for 200 Rosebrook Way. Do I have a motion to reopen after we tabled it?
Excuse me.
Yes, sir.
Sir, before we do that, I thought because we didn't vote to table it, there's no need to vote to bring it off? Is that what I understood?
I'm okay with this. So whatever
How about we just
whatever you
vote,
guys...
how about we just vote to bring it back in, and then we don't have to worry about it?
Yes, sir.
All right, so I
Let's
make a
make a
motion to vote to take this off the table and bring it back in.
Okay, do I have a motion to bring it back in, to table it and bring it back in?
Sure.
Right now. Second by Jim. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Yeah, you're absolutely right. Now that I'm thinking about it, we should have voted to table it. But
Well, we'll get on it the next time.
honest mistake, yeah, next time we do. Very well.
We're human beings, man.
That's
Do
right.
the best we can.
Okay.
We're better than them Mexican beans.
Mexican beings.
Ooh, careful.
Be careful. Okay. Human beans,
Jumping beans.
jumping beans.
All right, very well. Let's read it.
Beans, beans, beans.
Okay, we're doing, correct me,
Sorry,
425, right?
Yeah.
This is one of Lynn Sweet's, Rosebrook Way.
Oh, this is the
Yeah.
infamous.
The infamous,
hand these out while you're speaking?
yep, okay.
That's why you're being loud, so
This
you got our attention.
This is you, right?
That's rude.
The
wanna-
infamous Lynn Sweet.
Here.
I didn't think they handed stuff out at the meetings either.
Please. Thank you.
One for everybody. This is what you call provide so much paper they can't possibly read it all, and then dazzle them with BS during the presentation. Isn't that-
Connor,
Huh?
you like one of these?
Did I get it wrong? We've seen these before, I think. Has everybody got their copy? Connor, did you get one?
I think we're all good.
Okay. The Zoning Board of Appeals will hold a public hearing on March 26, 2025, at 6:30 PM in Room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 4-25 for a comprehensive permit under Mass General Law, Chapter 40B, proposing to develop 180 units of 25% affordable rental housing on 5.27 acres of land located at 200 Rosebrook Way, Wareham, Mass. This would appear on Assessors Map 109, Lot 2, in the CG, which I think is conference or general commercial, and the BDOD zoning districts. What is BDOD? Overlay, something, Business Development Overlay District.
Correct.
Yes, ma'am.
If you can just please announce for Patty what is being passed out during the meeting for the meeting minutes.
Okay, so there's this three-ring binder.
No, this stack, because that's.
I didn't, this thing that's being handed out for Pat, it's the comprehensive permit hearing. What is this thing?
It's a presentation, if you don't mind.
It's a presentation
It's
for
a copy of what we're presenting.
For tonight? Okay. So, Patty, the best thing I can say is that it's a bunch of pretty pictures and a PowerPoint thing blown into about, I don't know, 40 pages, and there's probably an extra one gonna be in the box if you wanna come by the office. Thank you.
You read it? Also, I was reading it.
So did I read that? Yeah, I think I did. Yes, I did. I put it in the
Very well.
commercial general and the,
I need name and address, and what's everyone doing here, sir?
Clay Smook, Smook Architecture, 8 Lyman Street, Westboro.
Sir?
Daniel Lasivita, traffic engineer with Vanassin Associates at 35 New England Business Center Drive in Andover, Mass.
Ms. Sweet?
Lynn Sweet, LDS Consulting Group, 170 Worcester Street, Wellesley, Massachusetts, 40B consultant.
Okay.
Paul Matos with Allen and Major Associates. We're the site engineers, surveyors, and landscape architects. Address 10 Main Street, Lakeville, Massachusetts.
Mike McVeigh from 80 Makepeace Company, 158 Tyhana Road, Wareham, Mass.
And Mr. Chairman, Paul Haverty, Blattman, Bobrowski, Haverty, and Silverstein, Concord, Massachusetts.
Another Bobrowski. Welcome. All right, everybody but attorneys and owners gotta get stand up and get sworn in, please. Except attorneys and owners.
do you promise to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth?
I do.
Yes.
Okay, please have a seat. And who wants to present the case can start.
Sure.
Yeah,
Who's starting?
I think Mike's going to start.
Go ahead, sir.
First off, Mr. Chairman and members of the board, thanks for having us, and Sonia, thanks for having us. I'm here tonight to just add some color as far as the ownership. A lot of you know 80 Makepeace Company. They've been founded approximately 170 years ago. We've been at Wareham since the early 1900s. We employ just over 100 people. About a third of those live in Wareham. We are the largest cranberry grower in North America. Right now, we have about 665 acres of bogs right here in Wareham.
How many?
665.
Thank you.
Yep.
Just in Wareham.
Just in Wareham. So when we talk about Rosebrook, the original plan for Rosebrook was a business sort of park set back up against some of our bogs. It's, as you can see, it's developed into this really vibrant, different business park. This particular parcel has been looked at for different uses over the years. With the declining demand, I'd say, for commercial office space, we started to look at, to meet what's been an increasing demand for residences. So we've collected a lot of really talented people, and we're here tonight to present this project. Right now in the Rosebrook Business Park, there's roughly 380 people who work in there. And as of the date of this presentation, there are 50 job openings on Indeed.com for different roles for businesses that are in that park. So I think the addition of this 40B will be, perfectly situated.
Well, you guys pay so poorly, you need people with assistance to work here?
I don't know, what do you mean?
You said there's 50 job openings, and the 40B project will provide employees to fill those jobs? Is that what I heard?
No,
Maybe I wasn't listening
I just think
right.
it's a good fit.
Huh?
I just think it's a good fit.
Oh, okay.
All right, so what are you proposing? How many, the units, the sizes, the whole story? Who wants to speak for that?
Sure. I'll run into that. Lynn Sweet, LDS Consulting Group. It's really wonderful to be here in person after many years of being on the other side of the TV screen. So basically, I'm just going to skip over this. I think, with regard to need, I think we all know that there is a housing shortage in Massachusetts, and any unit that we build is sorely needed. This particular project is 180 units, and if permitted, it is possible that this project will bring Wareham over that 10% affordable housing threshold. A little bit of background, you guys have done a lot of 40B, so I'm not going to go into this, but this process started well over, several years ago. But with the project team, we did meet with the town in the fall, and we got our Pell in, and we did a site walk with some of the town officials, and we received our Pell this past December, and we filed with you in January. And I think that you probably don't need any technical assistance, but we always just say if the town ever needs technical assistance from Mass Housing Partnership, there is a grant available. We know it is a bigger project than the ones that I've worked on, but maybe not to the board. So we're coming before you asking for a comprehensive permit for 180 units. And that one of a number of the factors with regard to obtaining a comprehensive permit is that we need to show you that the need for affordable housing outweighs local concerns. So we put some statistics up for you. We do feel that this project meets the needs outlined in your housing production plan, and it also meets the regional needs for housing as outlined in a number of studies that have been done on Massachusetts. 25% of all of the units will be permanently income restricted to 80% of area median income. 70% of those units, with the help of the town, should be able to have a local preference for residents living, working, or having school-aged children in Wareham. And all of the units are going to look the same from the inside and the outside. No one's going to know whether a unit is a market rate unit or an affordable unit. And the initial lease-up of the affordable units will be held under what's called an affirmative fair marketing plan, so that there will be a third party out there that is going to be awarding the affordable units and making sure that all of the state's fair housing rules are followed. Sorry, I'm not clicking. So, Nazi, in answer to your question, a very long way of getting here, we are proposing...
With all due respect, it's Mr. Chairman, please.
Mr. Chairman.
Yes, because I'm not your friend. Everybody would think, we just, let's keep professional here.
Yep.
Thank you.
Yes. So, Mr. Chairman, we are proposing 180 rental units in 2 buildings. One building will have 103 units. Both buildings are 4 stories. The other building is a smaller building, will have 77 units. With regard to the income mix, 67% of the units will be 1-bedroom units, 23% will be 2-bedroom units, and 10% will be 3-bedroom units. The market has told us that they are looking for smaller units, and therefore that is why the majority of our units are under our 1-bedroom units. The site itself, if you haven't been there, and we're very happy to set up a time if you want to come out and see it, right now has trees along the edges, but it is essentially an open field today. All of the units in the building, because they are going to be elevator buildings, will be visitable, and 5% will meet Group 2 standards. There'll be Class A apartments. We will have on-site amenities for residents, including fitness center, bike storage, and so on. There is amazing passive recreation available at this site. If you're not aware of it, there are miles of trails adjacent to this site, which is a great amenity to residents living there. All of the buildings or the lighting outside the building will be dark sky compliant. And we have a ratio of 1.51 parking spaces per unit. And at some point, we will meet with the school department and listen to what they want to do with regard to putting in a school bus stop for students. There is also public transportation out on the main road there, and the intersection itself is actually already a lighted intersection. So that's kind of the basics. I'm now going to turn it over to the team so they can walk you through the site plan.
Before we go forward, Attorney Paul, you consulted for us before, right? You helped us with the project.
Probably 5 or 6 years ago.
Yeah, correct. So I just been losing my memory lately. So you helping them in this project this time, or you here?
Yeah, I'm representing the applicant on this.
Okay, very well. Just before we go forward, all the details, when this whole area was created with the overlay district, and that Attorney Flattery can answer this, or somebody here, I don't know who will have the answer. That whole area, the overlay district, was created for a purpose. And we need to go back to that approval, what the planning board back then agreed to change the zoning in the whole area and allow all these things to go there. There was a purpose for it. And if we have to be
Consistent.
not consistent, in harmony with what they approved. So if they approved commercial and now we want to go with this, I don't know the legality of it, and I don't know if we can or can't do. So we're gonna need an answer and maybe some clarification from the planning board or from somebody of what, if we could do this. You know, because this whole area was treated specially for AD Makepeace back then to do what they did there with all this density. Councilor.
So, Mr. Chairman, again, Paul Haverty, Blattman, Bobrowski, Haverty, and Silverstein. Absolutely, what we're proposing to do is legal under Chapter 40B. Chapter 40B is a state law that allows an applicant to come in with a proposal, and they can request waivers of any local rule or requirements. Your zoning bylaw that created the zoning district is a local rule or requirement that we are allowed to request waivers from. There are, in certain circumstances, an ability for a municipality to assert a planning defense to a 40B development, but it requires multi-part analysis. And in this circumstance, I don't think that there's any chance that the board would be able to make that case, in the sense that, you know, my client has already indicated to this board that it has sought alternative uses. And in fact, there's just simply been a change in the market, and the demand for commercial space is so much less now than it used to be. So what made sense, 5 or 10 or however many years ago this district was created doesn't make sense now.
I totally agree. Totally agree with you. I know how 40B works. We all know how 40B works. And I totally agree, you've proven you safe harbor and all these things. But what I'm saying, there's letters on record from Makepeace, signed by Makepeace for the planning board. When they created the whole area, they agree to a certain project. I'm not, that there's decision on record, they agreed to build a certain project. I'm not sure, maybe there is, maybe on the record says you can do this, I'm not sure.
Under Chapter 40B, the zoning board of appeals has the authority, so when you're acting as the zoning board of appeals on a comprehensive permit application, you are stepping into the shoes of every other local board. So any local board has the authority to modify a decision that has been previously issued by that board. So in this sense, you would have the authority to issue a modification to any previous decision of the planning board. Now, that doesn't mean that you just go and make decisions willy-nilly. I absolutely think that it would make sense, for this board to request the input of the planning board, so that we can get a sense as to what their feeling is about this proposed development. But at the end of the day, the authority is with this board in terms of granting waivers.
I understand this, but the point I'm saying, if I make a deal with the town or with a person with a parcel of land, I'll say, if you give me this overlay district, I'm gonna build 100 offices, a hotel, 2 restaurants, 5 whatever, medical doctors, a burger joint, a bank. I make a deal with the town to build this. I understand 40B, we overrule everybody, and we totally understand how it works. But if and I'm not against this project, and I'm not saying, I'm against Makepeace or against this and that. I'm just saying, I want to make sure that the deal Makepeace made back then, because I was at most of these hearings when they did this overlay district, what they proposed to do, I want to make sure there's no binding contract between Makepeace and the town that this is what we're doing, and we cannot divert from it. That's all what I'm asking. You can.
Why don't we do a memo when we come back?
I get what you're saying.
One at a time, one at a time. You understand what I'm saying? So all what we need, a simple answer from town council, or you bring up this record from back when the overlay district was approved, saying that the overlay district is approved, and now it's treated as a regular parcel in the town of Wareham. Then we have the power to do this. But if the town, if Makepeace signed a letter or signed an agreement with the town, say, I'm building a hotel and I'm building 5 medical doctor, a bank, and a doctor, we can't divert from that. That becomes like a contract. We can't overrule this. You getting what I'm saying? I'm not an attorney, but
I am getting what you're saying. I'm not aware of any development agreement that was executed between Makepeace and the town, but we can certainly look into that.
There's a big agreement between the town and Makepeace when they did all this. That's why they allow them to do all this density. But don't listen to me. We'll listen what the paper say and the agreement says. It's all right. We just need a clarification before we go and do all this work. And the planning board comes here one day and say, listen a minute, this is the rules. You can't do this. After all this work we do, and they bring a paper, Makepeace signed saying, oh, we agreed with the town that we won't build this, or we won't build a hotel, or we won't build a restaurant. There is an agreement there, I'm very sure. But just to keep it in mind, we need a clarification on that, okay?
Yep.
Jimmy, you want to say
No,
something?
again, there was definitely, I remember as well, it was, let's make a deal. We're gonna give you a break on the taxes, we're gonna do this, we're gonna do that. Come on down, who wants to have a hotel in exchange for 5 years of no taxes? Who wants to increase the density? So maybe we have the power to modify it, but just because we have the power, what our chair is saying is what needs to be modified. We might have the power to do it, but we don't know what are we modifying?
So we will look into the circumstances.
Bottom line, we don't want to go through so many hearings, and you guys waste your time and our time, and somebody come with a piece of paper, say you can't do that. That's all.
Sure.
Very simple.
We'll look into it.
Okay, very well, thank you.
Mr.
That
Chair, if I
being
may.
said, yes, Joe.
I actually have the original Tyhonet Business Development Overlay District from 2005.
Yeah.
Then there was a modification to the business district, and reviewing the 2013 overlay district of the, at that time it was the BODD.
Yeah.
There is a list of allowed uses.
Okay.
Where they have identified where it was office space, there were housing involved as well. There's a list of prohibited uses, which a 40B is not listed under.
Okay,
So-
there you go. This is a step forward. However, Counselor, I would like you to
We will look into it,
better
Mr.
come
Chair.
from you, okay? So everybody's protected here.
Noted already.
And we don't look like fools at the end. Okay, very well. That being said, let's continue with presentation. Sir, who wants to talk?
Do you want to start? Let's start with the site civil. Go ahead.
Right, so basically this view here is just an overview plan showing kind of where our property is, which is outlined in red here. Close proximity to 195 here, we're about 1,500 feet from 195, we're 2,100 feet from Route 25. Tyhonet Road is here, we're about 1,700 feet, and then Route 28 here, we're about 1,500 feet from Route 28. Next slide, please. So basically here is just a overview blow up now showing what the existing conditions is. Again, the parcel's outlined in red. You can see basically the majority of the site is wooded. There is some disturbance here on the perimeter that was associated with past cranberry bogs activities where trees were cleared and graded. We have an access road that comes through here where there's also a sewer line that comes through here and it connects across into Lot 1. This is Lot 1, which is the medical building, South Coast Medical. This is Lot 3, which is associated with the All-American Assisted Living. Alan the Major was the record engineer for all three lots. Well, 2 lots have been developed, and then, of course, we're on the second lot here. We also designed Rosebrook Way subdivision through here and stuff and created the 3 lots. Next slide, please. This plan here is the plan that showed, again, Lot 2 being outlined in red, showed the development of Lot 2 as a medical building with 275 parking spaces, and you could see on the plan here, we did have common shared driveways between lots 1 and 2, and then also lots 2 and 3, we had the common driveways here. Next slide. So this is the proposed development here where we're showing 2 buildings. Building 1 is a U-shaped building, and then building 2 is an L-shape. We have on the site here, we have 272 parking spaces located around the property. We did maintain the common driveway with Lot 3 to the All-American Assisted Living, and then we also had to modify the access way to Lot 1 slightly to accommodate our project here. The breakdown of 272 parking spaces, we have 186 standard parking spaces located throughout. We have 56 EV charging stations that will be ready for electrical vehicle cars, and those are outlined in pockets. We have like 12 here, and then we have another set of 12 here, another set of 12 there, and then another set over here, all clustered together. We have 8 accessible parking spaces located in the front of the building. We have 6 parallel spaces on this alleyway between the 2 buildings, which will be a one-way heading towards the back. And then we have 16 compact parking spaces out here in this corner. And then the project also has 16 shared parking spaces with the Rosebrook, the South Coast Medical Building here, that we're going to allow them to use handicap spaces here, which is going to be kind of close to their door. The project has been designed to 100% infiltrate stormwater here for the 100-year storm event. We did that with subsurface drainage systems. We have one system that's located here, kind of an L shape, and then we have another one that comes along the back here. The drainage system will entail deep sump hooded catch basins, some water quality structures, and those 2 combined with the subsurface infiltration, we're going to get over 90% TSS removal from stormwater before it infiltrates. And then we also get 60% phosphorus removal, which is in accordance with the town's regulations for stormwater. We have provided vehicle movements for emergency vehicles around the entire property and stuff. We provided a vehicle movement plan that demonstrates that the ladder 1 truck could accommodate the movements here. And then this courtyard here is also going to be designed to allow an emergency vehicle, a fire truck, to come in here and get his ladder up to the back of these buildings here. All lighting will be LED. The fixtures will be designed to match the light fixtures that we did for Lot 1 and also for Lot 3. Each building will have its own separate sewer that would tie into the existing sewer that kind of comes down this roadway here and then goes out to the pump station that's back here. Water, we're going to be looping the water line around the back of the building, providing a new hydrant back here in this corner, providing a new hydrant back here, new hydrant here. This has all been coordinated with the fire department and the water department. The water lines are going to be a 6-inch fire service to each building and a separate 4-inch domestic to each building. And that concludes the civil part of it. Oh, we're also going to provide connectivity to the walkway trails that are along the bogs and stuff. So we're going to provide access here that residents could come off and then get onto the bog roads and walk the property and stuff.
Are you gonna have like a community building, or is it within the buildings?
It's within the buildings, but I'll let Smook, the architect, discuss that and stuff.
All right, and before the architect starts, I'm assuming it's gonna be a lot of kids there. Do you have like a park for the kids to
Yep.
play and so?
You got a playground that's designated back here?
Playground?
Yep.
I don't see much detail of it, but we'll get to it. Go ahead, sir.
Sure. Can I have that pointer? That looks pretty cool. All right, so could you leave that on there for a second? My name is Clay Smook. I'm with Smook Architecture and Urban Design. Been practicing in the Commonwealth since 1989. I know, I don't look that old. I've been working with AD Makepeace for 20 years on various projects. My firm does master planning and urban design, so I was involved in the master planning of Rosebrook Place, Rosebrook Business Park. I had the pleasure of designing 2 buildings, one being the South Coast Medical, which is 66,000 square feet, as well as the rental apartments across the way, which is Rosebrook Place, which is about 65 units, about 80,000 square feet, which is 4 stories on one side and 5 on the bog side. I will tell you, we've been looking at this site with AD Makepeace for a while. We've looked at opportunities when the market was stronger, looking at coming up with that Phase 2 building and what would be the right shape for that building if it was a South Coast building. And then as we began to look at it for residential, I'll tell you, this is probably version 25. We've looked at everything from 1 building to 2 buildings, 3 or 4 buildings. We've looked at 5 stories and 4 stories. We've come to this, which is actually a lower density. I had this thing up to about 260 units, which is, has me all salivating, but we dialed it back. One of the things we felt was it was important that the scale of these buildings worked well with South Coast. The second thing is we felt that it should be 2 buildings, that it just felt like the size of the buildings being in the neighborhood of between 70 and 100 residential apartments in each one just felt like a good size versus more of a mega structure. I think one of the things that we found really provocative about this was the ability to have this access. How does this button work? Is it
Just push the button, yeah.
the center?
Yeah.
Oh, wow. So have this thing so that we can have fire access all the way around the building and to really equally disperse the parking around. I think that was one of the biggest failures of earlier schemes. At one point, we even had structured parking, that the parking just felt weighted to one end. And I think it's really important that people have immediate and direct access to the buildings. Next. All right, so did we just skip one, or I just?
back.
All right, there we go. So as Lynn had pointed out, we have 2 buildings. The U-shaped building, which includes the amenities package, which includes this area that's white that opens to the green courtyard. Again, these buildings are 4 stories. And South Coast is 3 stories, but when you're doing a commercial building, you're about 14 to 15 foot floor to floor, and when we're doing residential, we're 11. So even though we're 4 stories, the top of these buildings align. The top of this building, both this and the L-shaped building, are approximately 45 feet. The documentation of the exact size is on the drawings that you have. I will say that, again, this is the primary building, and as it as it is adjacent to South Coast. I'll talk about how the architecture really talks about that. Next slide. Again, slightly smaller building, still has amenities in it. There's a great room in both. The other one has more of a fitness center and even more amenities. Both of them have storage for bicycles, et cetera. We really try to break up the scale of the facade. There are bays and there are areas where some of these have genuine balconies facing the bogs, which are just amazing views of what we found out with the rental property that we previously done. And then we also have Juliet balconies so that you can open up your slider. You've got that railing right outside the slider, but it really allows you to get the fresh air in. Next. Okay, so this gives you a sense of the scale of the buildings. Again, 4 stories. This is sort of a straight-on view. I don't know if you'll ever see this. We have renderings that you've probably already looked at that show the oblique view. But really the idea was to tie the architecture of this building into this. You'll see that this brick facade will wrap around so that where it faces South Coast, we've actually integrated using the same brick. And the idea here is sort of to create almost a commons here. Next. You know, it's a classical breakdown of architecture in this. You know, we've created, just like South Coast, we've got a very strong base, middle, and top. We've sort of, you know, it's sort of the classic New England. We created a very, very strong brick base and a very, very distinct attic story that we've painted this gray color where it appears as if they're dormers. So it appears more as if it's 3.5 stories, even though it's just to belie the fact that it's actually 4 stories.
Excuse me, do you mind, let's take a recess, so just keep it legal until Mr. Sample come back.
Oh, sure, of course.
If you don't mind.
Does that mean I can't chat?
No. Not in this case, it was announced probably.
You want me to put you guys off?
No, you could leave it on.
About that or let him.
Yeah.
Go dark. I didn't bring my charger. I got off-site today.
I have my charger in the car.
You guys will be quick.
And I can.
All right, we can resume.
Okay, thank you very much.
We have to, unfortunately.
We had a microphone follow you in.
What's that?
We had a microphone follow you in.
Oh, yeah?
Continuing on, as I was saying, you know, it's a fairly traditional configuration of a building with a very strong brick base, the middle being cementitious lap siding, which should resist rot and maintains color, and then, of course, the attic story is also cement siding. One of the features of this is the main tower here. There's sort of a tower, and this thing will sort of greet the visitor as you hit that rotary, and also I think the brick in the tower also talks to the tower that we had created on the South Coast building. Next slide. Where are we here? This is the other side of the building, again, carrying that same architecture around. Go ahead. Okay, so this is really the 100% rendering. This is what you're going to see. I'd be slightly off the rotary here, standing there, looking at, seeing the way the two buildings address each other. Again, the heights are very similar, and the materials are similar. Next. And to traffic. There you go.
Thank you, Clay. Again, for the record, my name is Daniel Lasivita, traffic engineer with Vanass & Associates. We completed a full and detailed transportation impact assessment, or fancy word for a traffic study, in consultation with both the town and with Mass DOT. The study was completed in accordance with Mass DOT guidelines for the preparation of such reports. This is just yet another aerial showing the site. This site has the good fortune to be located on an existing roadway that meets Cranberry Highway at a signal, and affords very easy access onto Route 195, as well as further up to the north onto 495 and Route 25. The study area that we assessed as a part of the traffic study consisted of 5 signalized intersections going from Wareham Crossing in the north, both of the 195 ramps, the signal right at Rosebrook Way, as well as past the sites to the south down to the signalized intersection of Tremont Street. To put into context the volume of traffic that Cranberry Highway currently sees, over the course of a 24-hour period on a weekday, Route 28 sees approximately 17,500 vehicles, and those are in both directions, with about 1,500 to 1,800 vehicles during each of the peak hours. So those are your commuting peak hours during the weekday morning and weekday evening, as well as the Saturday midday peak hour, when you see most of the people going out for errands or going to shops. Next slide, please, Lynn. To kind of put those numbers into context for what we expect the project to generate, using data published by the Institute of Transportation Engineers, or the ITE, who are the industry standard when coming up with the number of anticipated vehicle trips. We expect that on an average weekday, over the course of a 24-hour period, we expect the project to generate approximately 820 vehicle trips. And it's important to note that a vehicle trip is a one-way trip. So a vehicle that leaves in the morning to go to work, or leaves to go grocery shopping and then returns, counts as 2 trips. So 820 trips is approximately 410 vehicles leaving and entering the site, or vice versa. And then during those peak hours that I mentioned, we anticipate around 70 vehicle trips, which is a little more than 1 new vehicle on the roadway every minute during the peak hours. It's approximately every 50 seconds. 1 additional vehicle trip either entering or exiting the site. Next slide. And it has been talked about that the site has been previously approved. This lot was approved for, I believe, is around a 70,000 square foot medical building. This slide really just shows that the proposed residential development is expected to generate significantly less traffic on both a daily and peak hour basis than the approved use. 1,600 less vehicle trips over the course of a day, with anywhere between 100 to 200 fewer vehicle trips during the peak hours. Next slide. The fact that the site was previously approved for a much more traffic-intensive use aside, we dispersed the new trips that are expected to be generated by the project to the study area with the distribution you see here. Roughly 50% we anticipate to go to or from 195, with then approximately 40% leaving the study area on Cranberry Highway, either north or south. And then when we completed our analysis, we looked at the impact of the project. So we looked at the signalized intersections at vehicle delay and vehicle queuing, both with and without the project. And we found that at all 5 signals, there exists sufficient capacity to accommodate the additional traffic associated with the project. Once again, if we go back to Cranberry Highway, currently sees 1,500 to 1,800 vehicles over the course of the peak hours. Adding an additional 70 is a relatively de minimis increase in traffic. Next slide. And then based on kind of everything I've talked about up until this point, the project is expected to generate approximately 60 to 70% less traffic than the approved use. At those signalized intersections, the maximum impact from project-related traffic that we saw was an increase in vehicle queuing of up to just 2 vehicles. So if there's 7 vehicles in front of you now, at worst, there's going to be 9 with the addition of project-related traffic. Furthermore, based on a review of motor vehicle crash data at all of the signalized intersections, none of them were found to have an above-average crash rate, which indicates that there may be an existing safety deficiency there. And then lines of sight to and from all of the proposed driveways along the roundabout on Rosebrook Way were found to exceed the recommended minimum distances. And then the last 2 slides, I'll be very brief. I've talked for quite a bit already. But we had recommendations as they relate to the site access and circulation that have informed the site plans that are presented before you. And then the last slide is just a series of transportation demand management recommendations trying to push people away from single occupant vehicles, whether it be walking, biking, things like that. And with that, I'd be more than happy to answer any questions as well.
Which page is the list of waivers? Do you know what page is the list of waivers?
We just- Mr. Chairman, on our slides or in the book?
Yeah, but I mean, just to dig it out, but I couldn't find the waiver list. I'm sure you're asking for a lot of waivers.
Right, it should be, it's usually somewhere around tab 8 or 9.
Okay. All right,
Good?
I'll find it.
Doing a little side reading while you're talking.
Let me ask a question. How many parking spaces you providing?
We got 271 for the site.
It's a ratio of 1.551
Per unit?
per unit, but as the we went with a lot of one bedrooms because that's where the market is going at today.
Okay.
Per zoning, we're required to have 300 spaces, which breaks down to 1.5 for 1 bedrooms. And if you had 2 or 3 bedrooms, there are 2 per unit, so we needed 300 total. We're providing 272 spaces dedicated to the use. And then we also have 16 shared spaces that are along the medical building that's going to be along that property line that they're going to be using during the morning and stuff, and they'll be available for us that
And I'm assuming you do have units for handicap and handicap ready and all these things, right?
Yes, of course. Type 1 and Type 2, yes.
You have already 53G set up? A 53G account set up?
We are happy to hear how much you would like the developer to put in the 53G account for the peer reviews.
Alan Major, but Phil will give us an estimate.
Mr. Chair, respectfully, I can't sit and do peer review on this project because we have an interest in it from our history with 80 Makepeace.
So we're
We can
gonna have
assist
to-
you finding some other peer reviews, though.
We probably,
Historically, you guys have used Green Seal as a backup to peer reviews that Phil can't do.
Green Seal, they don't do much business here.
We've been using them more and more.
But they don't come before us a lot, right?
No, I'll confirm with them that they have no
Here and
conflict
there,
in this.
one here and there, no big deal. Can you reach out for them? Okay, very well. Because at the early stage, I mean, this is what we have to set up to get that process going, I guess, yeah, you wanna,
Mr. Chairman, so I think we're pretty much at the end of our presentation. We just wanted to note that we have already done our water fire flow testing, that we've done the TIA, we have submitted full stormwater management plan, and as mentioned earlier, we've met with the fire department. With regard to the waivers, the waivers are very, very minor. Like if it's a height waiver, it might be like 2 feet sort of thing, because the zoning within the business park is so generous. So for a project of this size, I think when you look at the waiver list, we hope that you'll find the same conclusion, which is that we're not pushing the boundaries too much compared to what's allowed by right. So we are really happy to talk about peer reviews, how much you normally request for a project of this size, and we are happy to make that deposit. We'd also, if you need names of additional peer reviewers, we can certainly tell you who we've run across lately, if that would be helpful to the board in getting some quotes. Again, happy to meet with department heads if we haven't already met with them. I know that our team's done a pretty good job of checking in with people because 80 Makepeace has such a strong presence in the community. Happy to go on a site walk. You can, go on your own, and we look forward to continuing the discussion with you, and thank you very much for your time.
All right, well, the 50, like I said, the consultant that we need to hire, that'll be Josh, you have to come, connect to and discuss who, I think Green Seal is the way to go. And usually it starts like with $5,000-6,000, sound like that.
So are you peer reviewing stormwater and traffic?
Everything. We peer review the whole thing.
And that company does all of those disciplines?
They do pretty much what Alan Major does for us.
Okay, why don't I connect with you after the meeting? We'll make sure we know who and where, what we need to do, if you
We have
don't mind.
plenty of time to set up. All right, that being said, I'm just gonna, apparently, that's the first of the project, so we'll hear some comments from public, from the board, and we get going. We'll start with Troy. Nothing for right now.
Nothing right now.
Veronica.
I have a question. So I like that you're encouraging, less vehicles. I like that you're encouraging the use of less vehicles, and, you have the bike racks and everything. I would like to see a bus stop for not just the school children, but Gatra, to get around town. That's becoming more and more. Do you know where the Gatra stop is?
No, I do not.
Okay.
There is an existing Gatra stop on 28. I would have to confirm exactly where it is, but that's certainly something we can reach out to them and see if they would, see how they would feel about putting one in. I know in addition to the residential use we're proposing, there's also the 2 other uses.
Yeah, well, and
within the
then,
site.
the medical center being there, and it'd be really great if they were able to come down and also pick up residents and drop off at the medical center, et cetera. I think they actually already do that. Because I remember from our site walk with Mass Housing, Jim Kane from Makepeace mentioning that you can see them going back and forth on that main road. So why don't we get you some more detail for that for the next meeting?
Right, you're probably gonna have to build them little like kiosk or shed or wait bus stop for the people. But I know Gatra will go pick up people if they call you.
And it could serve for the school children and for
Absolutely.
Gatra if,
So a lot of
having an area
elderly,
there.
they need ride, or employees. I know a lot of employees take Gatra to work in Wareham, that I know personally.
We'll definitely look into what they have today. We will reach out to the school department, see what they're thinking, and we'll see whether or not it makes sense to put some sort of a shelter, again, keeping in mind that we do need to make sure we have our proper sight lines, but
Right.
appreciate the comment.
Can you go back to our Alan, the major site plan? On the plans, we do have a bus shelter in the back of the property. It's kind of behind Building 1, and when she gets to the plan, I'll point it out.
Is it an existing one, or?
No, it's proposed. It's a new proposed bus shelter that we're proposing in the back.
Can you show where and?
Yep,
I'm-
she's getting the plan up, so.
I'm just trying to get back into.
And I did also just look as well. Gatra does come down to the All-American Assisted Living Facility currently.
Yeah,
So there is a bus stop that goes down Rosebrook.
Just want to Okay, we're back. Hang on one second, sorry. Let me just go to full screen, sorry. There'll be a slight delay.
Okay, so the bus shelter that we're proposing is right here. It's a little 10 by 6 that's going to be there. So it kind of provides access for the bus people to come in, come up the one way, pick up the kids. There's a crosswalk here, and then they just come right around, and they can leave the site.
Yeah, not necessary kids, everybody.
Yep.
Now, all the entrances in the other, that where the shelter is?
Yep.
That's all the building entrances pretty much from that side, from the back, the box side.
I
The
believe,
entrance, the main entrance for the buildings, where? Go back to the other picture.
Yeah.
Excuse me. Can I have the pointer, please?
Yep.
The entries to the building, site plan.
Do you want this one, or do you
Site
want me to go
plan.
back up?
Yeah, here.
The entries are here and here.
Where? Just
Here,
here?
all the way through,
Okay.
and here, all the way through. There can also be an entry out this end. I think what we can do is, we can drive the hallway all the way through, out to the outside.
So you think the shelter, that's a good spot for it, where you have it, for Gatra, for the bus, the location you guys picked?
We think that, based on our end, we think it's reasonable, but at the end of the day, if GATRA does designate it as one of their specific stops, they really have final say as to where they would like to see it. So that's something we can reach out to them.
Right. Okay, so how far you think from, if somebody walking from the apartment all the way to the left of the shelter, how far do you think? 300-400 feet? That'd be
I think
walking?
like 250 feet.
Okay.
Yeah.
All right, Jimmy. Veronica, you all set?
Yeah, thank you.
In Ms. Sweet's presentation that she passed out this evening, on one page, I see a line here, it says, and I was listening, but I was fiddling, so I want to be clear. It says, "All units will be affordable into perpetuity." That means if you get approved for 150 units, there'll be 150 in our count?
All the affordable units, so
All the affordable units, so-
25% of the units are affordable, and those units will be affordable.
25% of whatever you get
Will be affordable in perpetuity. Because it's a rental building, all 180 units will count on your subsidized housing inventory. You get a bonus.
Say it again now?
So there's two different things.
Yeah.
25% of the units will be affordable at 80% of AMI. That affordability stays in place. It never goes away.
And they'll always go out as an affordable unit?
Always go out as an affordable
Okay.
unit. They're going to have that marketing plan. Every year, those residents are going to get income certified. If a unit turns over, they need to lease that unit to another party that qualifies at the 80% of AMI income level.
Okay.
Separate from that is that because this is a rental building, under the 40B statute, you get a bonus so that even though only 25% of your units are affordable, all of your units are allowed to be counted on the town's subsidized housing inventory. So 180 units will count on your subsidized housing inventory, of which 25 are actually affordable.
100% count subsidized. What does that do to Safe Harbor? There's a magic number that you gotta get to.
This project will put you over 10% for a year.
And that's because it's affordable, or because it's an apartment building?
Yeah,
So now, all the apartments count towards the 40B Safe Harbor or non-safe harbor, whatever the word is.
Right.
Whatever the slang is.
So the units will be able to be counted once the permit is granted and filed and isn't appealed. They will stay on your subsidized housing inventory for a year. Hopefully, a building permit will be pulled within a year, and they will remain on the inventory. So I just, there's a few caveats there, but.
So the into perpetuity part, so if it wasn't an apartment building, if they were condominiums,
Only the 25.
only the 25% would,
Correct. So
or if they were 180 single-family homes, or whatever, yeah, whatever.
Yep, so only 25%. So for the project that came before
But
you.
because they're rental units.
Yeah, you get a bonus. The state wants to see rental units. They feel that that is where the greatest need in the Commonwealth is.
Okay. That answers that question for me. When I heard that you guys were coming, all I heard was 150, 150. I heard 180 for the first time tonight. Doesn't mean what I heard before was right. Doesn't just the word that was bouncing. I don't know if everybody in town already predetermined that we were gonna beat you up for 30 units or what, but,
Interesting.
comment?
I think Clay was very clear that we have had many iterations of this plan. And through very hard work and his ingenuity, we feel that we have a plan that is buildable, marketable. We feel that we're creating a community where people are going to want to live, that they're going to want to essentially, work from home, use the trails. As Clay mentioned, again, that we're going to have, balconies and fresh air.
I think it might be a place that I might like to live,
Right,
so-
and if you guys, members of the board, I've come before you. I've always come before you with the exact amount of units. I don't, as a consultant, I don't play games. My consultants don't play games.
You don't like to play the ask for 10, get
No, we
8
like to
game?
come in and say, this is what we think is the best project for this site, and we hope you'll agree that it is the best project for the community.
Yeah, I think, I just want to address what you just said. Was there some sort of switcheroony, I think. And if you look the date on the documents, these have been in the, as they say in the film business, in the can for 6 months, the dates on these documents.
Like I
So-
said, I don't know if I'm
Yeah, no,
not
I
going
get it.
by what's right, I'm going by what's said.
Right, I just want you
I'm
to
going
know
by-
that the drawings that you have filed, they have the date of
Not the written
September on
word,
it.
the spoken word, that's what I'm going, like the Facebook, it's so reliable.
Yeah, well, you gotta, if it's on the news, it's gotta be true, so, yeah, these are dated
Okay.
September 18th.
So that answers that question. I won't belabor it on you.
Well, I just want to add one other thing. I'm quite sure that Makepeace talked with the other, tenants in the complex. Like normally when you do a project, you want to knock on your neighbor's doors and say, hey, here's what we're thinking of doing. What do you think? And they did do that. They just happened to be, commercial uses.
Yeah, okay. What's the, 45 feet is the height. Is that like going to be a waived height, or is that what we're already allowing in that district?
Well, can you go into we can be a little bit more specific. It's on there. There's a height to the top of the flat roof,
Yeah.
and there's the height to the top of the elevator override, and then there's the height to the top of the tower.
I'm getting
Is it
it.
in those drawings? And you have to,
I think 45 feet is probably going to be the height to the flat roof, and then you'll
well,
be...
I mean, it's in the document, so if we want to read it into the record, instead of that, let's just look at the elevation. On the right side, I believe there is some,
Do you want me
go to the next one, see, you'll
think
see a
it's easier to
dimension
zoom
string.
in?
There you go, it's on that dimension, but you have the prints in that set that you have, do you have the
He
extra
knows how to
set?
make my thing zoom in. Hang on one
Yeah.
second. I need technical assistance to go that way.
I mean, let's get what we're actually asking for. And then pan to the right. There we go. There are the, go down. So it's 47 feet to the top of the flat roof, 53 feet to the top of the elevator override, and then 57 feet is just for the tower, the top of the clock tower.
Okay. So I don't know where I heard 45, but
Well, I said 45 as I was presenting, and I said about 45.
Yeah, okay.
Check the documents, because... the
57 is about 45.
No, 57 is to the tower. The buildings are 47 feet. The
I got
tower
it.
is a
I got-
separate
yeah,
element.
no
I'm not...
problem. Not challenging you.
slip
I
one
just-
by you.
Just wanted to,
What's the allowed height there, 45?
40.
40?
40 in the B dot, yep.
so 40 would be like to the, if you were trying to, yeah, if you were trying to play by the current rules, and 40B allows you to push it, and like Ms. Sweet said, you could have pushed it harder, but you just figured, you wouldn't push it as hard as you could. So I get it. That's my 45-foot question. And I have one more question. I noticed EV parking, I like to see that amount of EV parking. I think it's good that it's included in the plan. I like the way it's spread out across the project. But again, I'm a keyboard warrior. I love Facebook, and I understand how important it is for people with non-EV vehicles to park in EV spots, so that they can voice their protests to electric vehicles. Are the EV spots exclusive to electric vehicles, or are they just spots that an electric vehicle could park and charge?
I think that that's going to be a management decision about how they want to assign and allocate the spaces.
But, so, I mean, there's a lot of, you're not going to say EV parking only, and I'm not opposed to EV parking, don't get me wrong. But if all those EV spots were exclusive to EV vehicles, there wouldn't be enough parking.
I think it probably will not be exclusive to EV vehicles until the use of electric vehicles reaches a critical mass, where you would actually be able to fill all those spots with electric vehicles. So again,
So
as
then
Lynn
back to
stated,
management and,
so as Lynn stated, that's going to be something that the management company will handle, and they'll address that as necessary.
And just to be clear on that, it's that we're providing 20% EV-ready spots, so not all 56 parking spots need to be ready when we first start. It's
so
just
there'll
going to
be
be...
a conduit to 50-something places.
Yes.
But there may not be wire in that.
Correct. And because we're a smart community and stuff like that, we're required to provide 20% EV charging stations. And again, you have to plan for it, so day one, you may have 10 spaces, and then depending on the number of vehicles that are there, and if the management finds that we need to add a little bit more, the infrastructure's already there that we could easily add the charging stations and make them available right away, so.
I get it. Okay. So, again, it's spread into 5 or 6 locations. If you're gonna open 10, if there was 5 locations, it'd be like 2 in each of the 5 locations, so that you got some, it's still spread, or would you put 10 in one cluster and?
I don't know, I think we're too far, that's too far down the line that we don't really have the answer for that, but we're allocating.
Well, I'm
that
just
we-
kind of pre-warning you that I'm gonna wanna see that spread out.
Okay.
You know, I mean, I'm okay with only, I don't, my problem isn't that you're only putting in 10 out of 50.
Yep.
My problem would be, you put 10 in, and it's 300 feet away from another, you know, so the guys with the EV are now punished because they have to park over there, because that's the only place they can park.
Yeah, most likely we'll
And if you're gonna, you know, if your conduit's in the ground, then run some wires to all 5 locations.
Most likely, we'll disperse them between the 2 buildings. Now, whether it's going to be,
Yeah,
5
you
at Building
get-
1,
you
5
know.
at Building 2, and then, go on from there.
I've eaten enough time. Thank you.
Richard?
Well, I don't have any questions, but I just going to make some remarks on
Then you build them up.
what the board said. The only people that say that we need housing are the people that are stuffing these 40Bs down our throat, because they can't even sell the ones over in Swiss Beach. And secondly, that whole, we give you over your 10% for a year, yeah, that's fine, but then we got 200 and something more people in our census for the next year, so it's just gonna bump it up even harder and be harder to get out from underneath it the next time, so. Whatever.
We will never reach the 10%. That's how it's designed.
I'm just saying, come in and sugarcoat that kind of stuff it falls on my deaf ears on that.
I understand, but unfortunately, that's how the rules are. Christopher?
I have one question. The 16 shared parking spaces next to the medical facility. There's parking, are you taking parking away from that medical facility on that whole side? Because I know they can park up against the building, and you can park towards the trees there.
Yeah, we're removing a lot of those parking spaces. Those are just temporary parking spaces that we have a lease agreement with the medical building. So those are going to be relocated or removed, and we're just providing those 16 that are going to be right against their building. So that way, they have a bunch of handicap spots there. We're going to keep on maintaining those handicap spots. They're not going to lose any. So it's right next to the door, so it provides easy access for them. And then we're also adding 8 additional parking spaces that would be close to the building there for their use.
Okay, so those parking spaces against the building of the medical facility are all going away?
Yes,
And then the other ones on the other side, it's only going to be 16 shared?
correct.
So there's about 32 parking spaces you're taking away from the medical facility?
I don't know the exact number, but the medical building has their own parking spaces. They just have other ones that are located further towards the other development, and then we provided those temporary parking spaces because it was closer to the building. But the office building itself would be compliant with zoning with the required number of parking spaces that they have.
Thank you.
Welcome.
Connor?
Yeah, I had a question with regard to the AMI percentage. So Mr. Semple had mentioned another housing development that's in town, Swift's Landing, that's available at 60% of AMI. So I was just wondering how you guys ended up on 80%.
The statute requires that we have either 20% of our units at 50% of AMI or 25% of our units at 80% of AMI. I'm assuming that Swift's Landing is either Dakota's or Penrose's projects that they've renamed. Does that sound right? Dakota's project. So those projects are fully affordable, and they use a lot of state and federal funding to supplement their rents. This project is going to be totally financed privately and is not going to be looking to the town or the state for any kind of financing.
Right. Dakota was also granted the land for free. That's why we mandated the 60%.
Okay.
You know?
Good
All right.
information.
Can I just,
Go ahead, of course.
on Chris's comments about parking, I was just looking to see, so the requirement is, I don't know, 280-something, and you're proposing, I'm sure it's going to be a variance, 270-something.
Yeah, requirement's 300, we're providing 271. And
Okay.
that does not include the 16 shared parking spaces that we
Doesn't
have
include
access to.
So I have an issue with that, because now what happens when somebody has even one guest? Where are they parking? What if somebody has a birthday party and then their neighbor has a guest? I mean, I think that parking's gonna be an issue here. You have a lot of units, and I think it's a mistake to have less than even the requirement. I would say you need to have more than the requirement.
If I may, on a 40B, there's no such thing as a variance, it's a waiver. And they could always go back to the state and say financially it's not feasible, and the state says, it's true, financially it's not feasible. It's not like they have to prove a statute as like a chapter 48, they have to prove a hardship. It's called a waiver, not a variance, so you can't deny it based and there's no hardship.
Yeah,
This is how it is.
I understand that we
people
can't-
in for it or against it, but that's how it is.
I'm making the comment because I'm hoping that you will take that into consideration and figure something out for that, because do you have properties similar to this where you have less than what's required for parking, and what's the situation at those properties right now?
I mean, I have represented both developers and boards on dozens of projects, large rental projects. 1.5 parking spaces per unit is a pretty standard figure. And I have never heard of any issue with regard to a lack of parking for any of those developments. In fact, generally speaking, they're overparked.
They're
Overspaced,
Yeah,
not
there's more
overparked.
spaces than what's required, so you wind up constructing a lot of, and using a lot of asphalt that really isn't necessary. You know, the spaces further away from the building tend never to be used.
Yeah. And I will say, in fact, on another town that I'm in hearings for along 495 as well, I actually went to 3 large apartment buildings that had been built in the past 5 years, and we counted parking spaces in the morning, at night, on Saturday, to try and figure out how many of the spaces were actually being used, and they are fully occupied projects. And we came up with, I think, about 1.2 spaces per unit being used, and those developments had a larger percentage of 2- and 3-bedroom units. So while I hear your concern, we haven't seen it on the ground yet. In this particular, development, I think we have the right amount of spaces. The more spaces we put in, the less, the more impervious area. So it's not also as good for the environment too.
Attorney Havert, you assist us with Woodlands Cove, didn't you, with the 150 units? Which project you assist us with?
I forget, it might have been the Dakota.
I think it was Dakota.
Dakota, the
Yeah.
one in
It
Swiss
was like,
Beach?
was that 300 units?
No,
No, it was
150.
3 phases though.
90
Okay.
units, Dakota was 30, but
It was a different.
Woodlands Cove, it's 1.3. We gave them waive of 1.3 car. Not one and a half. So they have 1.2. What are you
So on
providing,
weekends,
1.4?
1.51.
Yeah, Woodlands Cove, we gave them 1.3, the one on Red Brook Road.
Which is not fully.
Not complete yet,
Yeah,
but
it's
it's.
not.
Right.
I mean, I want
But
to see.
I've seen it happen, nobody gives full parking. I've seen happen a lot of waivers and projects like this, and like I said, we did give Woodlands Cove 1.3. So we've done it before, it's been done.
And ultimately, you know, the developer, more keenly than anyone, you know, wants to make sure that there is sufficient parking.
Right.
So that becomes a marketing issue if there isn't sufficient parking.
Do you think, excuse me, do you think that this ratio is specific to an affordable housing development, or do you think it applies to all, you know, if we were just doing a market rate, 150, 180 unit building?
So I think that's a good question. I certainly don't have an answer for it because I don't think you see a lot of large-scale market rate developments.
I can answer that.
Well, just before, so I will say that the developments that we recently surveyed in, I think it was Milford, were 100, they were 40B, same ratio, 75% market, 25% affordable. And I'll let Daniel give you the real standards that the traffic engineers go by.
But the non-40B is what I'm talking about, the market, yeah.
Yep, so something that I will note, which is included as a part of the traffic study, was we did note that the proposed parking is below the zoning. The 1.51 spaces per unit was found to be, you heard me mention the Institute of Transportation Engineers, or the ITE. In addition to doing trip generation, they also look at parking demand, and that 1.5 spaces per unit is really what's found recently to be the where you want to design to for both standard multifamily.
So that's the sweet spot, 1.5.
And
1.5.
so the other thing is too, you said Milford, so I feel like your city or town that you're in will also have an impact on whether or not a parking would matter. Because if transportation is not hot, which it's still not quite in Wareham, more people are going to have vehicles.
100%. These locations actually had less access to bus than this one.
So I absolutely agree with you. The study sites that the ITE looks at are a wide range of everything, from it depends on the land use code, but they look at a wide variety of projects located in urban, suburban areas to kind of come up with a residential has the highest number of data sites, generally just because there's so many of them, they're so common. So really 1.5 is where you want to design. Also, as we talked about, acknowledging the public transit isn't maybe as prevalent in Wareham as it might be in Milford, but the bus does come directly next to the site as well. So just more things to think about.
Thank you.
Well, I would say, in terms of Jim's original comment, I think that there may be somewhat of a reduction in the number of parking spaces necessary for an affordable housing development at 25% affordability, simply because the likelihood of those units having multiple vehicles is lesser than it would be for a market rate unit, simply because owning a vehicle is expensive.
Yeah.
And especially with, I believe it's 67% one bedroom as well.
Yeah, it's 67% one bedroom. I will say on the opposite, when we researched some projects that we permitted that were all 60% of AMI on a bus route, there was about a third of the parking being used because a lot of the people were either using family or friends or ride services or senior transportation. So as what Paul was, our office does a lot of research. That's part of what we do. So we look at these crazy little things. And you are correct that the higher level of affordability, the lower number of cars, mainly because of the financial factor, but also of, alternatives that are out there.
Yeah, okay. I was asking a little bit for selfish reasons because, 20-something years ago, I lived in a condo complex, and there were all two-bedroom units, and maybe it was more than 20 years ago, but anyway, all two-bedroom units, every unit had 2 assigned spaces, and there were maybe, out of 27 units, 4 or 5 guest spaces. And every space in the place was filled, and there were, anybody that had a 2-bedroom unit and only 1 car, somebody else was going over and bribing them to use their spot.
Yeah.
Maybe bribing isn't the word, renting, you get what I'm trying to say. But that was, I'll qualify my comment, that was plus 20 years ago. Maybe things have changed, but it just doesn't seem to me that people are using
I also
less.
think there's a difference between condos and home ownership, and
Yeah.
rentals as well, in terms of number of vehicles.
Yeah, someone who can afford to purchase a condo may have the ability to afford a car. We will definitely, as we dig deeper into the plans, stripe out.
Yeah,
We'll stripe out guest parking, that's
Stephanie
definitely
brings up a
part of it.
valid point in my view, but I'm not sure, so.
All right, let's go move to the public. Anyone in the public want to speak in favor of this project? In favor? I see none. Anyone against this project? Also, I see none, because you don't have neighbors. All right. So I guess,
The question is, when are they coming back?
I guess we'll go forward, before we send you away, you get a 53G open. We'll come back, discuss more next time.
Mr. Chairman, do you think that you will be able to secure someone in the next week or so that if we come back in a month, there will be
I don't see why not.
substance okay, that's great.
I mean, we
You
could
know?
use, if Green Seal don't want to do it, reach out to JC or GF, somebody.
Or
I'm sure somebody would like to do it.
Tetra Tech does a lot of peer reviews. I think Bowman maybe for traffic or MDM for traffic. I think of other large companies that might
What's
have
that
enough.
I said, hopefully somebody that we use anyway.
Somebody that sells
We've used Green
shores.
Seal before,
Yeah, because we got one, they just did one a couple months ago.
yeah. Any more questions before we send them away, or anything to look forward, modify, any questions to be modified or
GTI or
something? So I know the shelter, it's been answered, the Gatra, for what Veronica asked. So you're gonna have a shelter for Gatra, and, I mean, everything else,
Yeah.
pretty much. Have you talked to Sewer?
Yes.
You talked to them?
Yep.
Okay, it will be helpful to get something from them. And you did water, flow
We
test?
did fire flow testing.
You modeled the water, there's enough pressure, I'm sure there.
Yeah, there's enough pressure out there, and then, again, Andy, I believe, provided a letter saying that he had no issues with water connections, and he was in agreement with what the fire prevention captain was saying, that he requested 2 additional hydrants to be located on the property, which in the original plans only had 1 hydrant in the back, so we've already revised the plans, but we haven't submitted those yet. We'll wait until we get peer review comments and submit 1 set of revised plans that would address everything there, and we also looped the water line behind the
Showed
buildings.
the path of the truck, that leather
Vehicle
one,
movement
the
plan?
big one?
Yep, we show that. And like I said, they have access to Courtyard 1
Okay.
through grass pavers to provide a ladder access to the back of the units there.
All right, any more questions before we send you away, I guess? And when you want to come back? You want to come back in a month? Hopefully we have some answers.
April or May?
April would that be the 3rd or When do you normally meet?
April, we have 9 or 23. I think 9 is too close, you're not gonna get.
I agree.
The 23rd, I think, and hopefully, Josh, if you could get on that quick, so we could get,
April 23?
if Green Seal have an opening and they take it right away and, you know.
Everybody on the team.
Oh, and one last,
Yeah, go ahead.
one
Ron.
last question. I'm not sure what your requirements are in terms of solar, or maybe you just have to be solar-ready, but do you have any proposed solar on this project?
The code will require it to be solar-ready.
Solar-ready?
Yeah, exactly.
That's-
That's what it's required to be.
So that's what you guys are gonna do? There's no plans for any panels or anything?
I know, we can talk to AD Makepeace about it. The thing about it is there's a real question, you know, of how much space we have for the efficiency, but we can certainly talk to AD Makepeace about doing it.
I think that's a good idea, Veronica. Instead of cutting down all the trees like they're doing, use their building and put them on them. Very good idea. That's what I think.
Either that or put them on the parking lot.
I'm just tired of seeing the trees get cut down. Put them on top of the building, put them over the parking lot.
I don't think we're planning on cutting down trees to put
No,
solar
I-
panels in.
No,
so
the
but-
it's
company
a-
is inspired by nature, so they like to cut down a bunch of trees and put up solar fields everywhere, so. You just might as well
So-
put them on your buildings.
Yeah, I mean, one,
If you're gonna put them in the woods, you might as well put them on your buildings.
We
It
weren't
makes
going to
sense.
put them in the woods, though.
one of the things that we can 100% look at, and I think we've talked about, at least with regard to the lighting in the parking lots and so on, we typically, for the outdoor spaces, we are able to use some solar generated in the parking areas, right?
Yeah, I
Yeah.
think so. So, well, I'll say this, we're required to do solar ready, certainly willing to talk to AD Makepeace about it, but it's a question of how much room there really is on the roof. But
Yeah, there's a lot of, not as much real estate on the roof as you think there is.
Well,
Yeah, well, Jim had a good idea by putting overhangs, so you park your cars under, and then you never have to clean off your cars from snow. So turn your parking
Oh,
lot.
carports? You're suggesting carports?
I know it would add a lot of money to the cost of the construction, but it's only the cheapest time to do it. Once the parking lot is built, it's very expensive to add solar to a parking lot. I've looked into it a little bit. But if you do it out of the original, you know, before you start putting machines in the ground and putting the shovel to the dirt, if it's part of, solar ready means you run a conduit through the walls and put it on the roof so you can pull a wire in the future. But solar ready could also mean that you've got a bunch of conduits in the parking lot going to stanchions and the whole park. There's 270 cars, 300, how many square feet per car? 350 square feet, 270 times 350. That's a lot of square feet of solar panels.
200 per car,
200 per car, 200 times, you know, so
180.
it's a good point that's made that, and those people that are living in those affordable houses, you know, their cars would last longer if they were under a nice canopy.
Save a lot of plowing.
So
Anyway,
it's worth consideration.
something to think about. But you guys the owner manage the property, or they manage them, they filter the tenants and
Yeah.
everything, right?
Yeah, Rosebrook manages their own property.
All right, so I guess that being said, can I get a motion to continue till April 23rd?
So moved.
So I have a motion to continue RPB 2 LLC, 200 Rosebrook Way, by Jim to continue until April
23.
23. Do I have a second?
I'll second.
Second by Veronica. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, Nazir, aye. I guess we'll see you on the 23rd, hopefully for more answers and just like that thing.
Thank you,
What we
Mr.
talked
Chairman.
about.
Thank you, members of the board.
Thank you, guys.
Good to see you, Counselor. It's been a while. I thought I knew you, but... Yes.
Well, I was actually here on the Penrose one, too.
Yeah.
Which one?
Pembroke.
On the Penrose application, 40B.
Where was, Where was that?
I don't remember.
Yeah, me neither, but I remember,
Yeah,
well, I remember that you were
Was
here.
that housing?
Yeah, but that was, I think, during COVID, so I wasn't actually here, I was on Zoom.
Okay.
That's
Well,
good
good
to
to
see
see
you.
you anyway. All right, continue until,
We got that motley crew out of here, almost.
all right, let's move to 6-25 Coastal Cultivars, 4 Little Brook Road.
Yes. Thank you.
I want to take it home. I gotta
You,
go.
and I think this goes with it too.
Yeah.
Oops, sorry,
I know.
that's all right. I didn't see a reverse light.
I didn't have my backup people on.
Naz, why do we have applicants do this?
He likes to look at it.
And
when we get
legal.
further into it. It's only one set.
It's one set.
Yeah, I know. I
It
take
is?
them home and study them.
No, it looks like there's several sets here.
I need one. He requests 8.
Bowman is McMahon now.
That's how it is.
I know, but you know, the trees were taken down every time we,
Give me one. I want to bring it home, please. Because this is my best time. When I wake up 3 in the morning.
By making them put up a solar.
This is what gets me back to sleep. I wake up 3 in the morning and I start reading
you're
them.
bored, right?
Looking for somebody. Broke?
Do I have all the full, no, you gonna take that whole thing home, Naz?
I'm taking it with me.
Okay.
Oh, look, it's a color.
That
So
one
pretty.
set?
He's not, you're gonna need a hand.
You
carrying
taking this
stuff
too?
over.
Yeah. There we go.
Naz needs one of them little
Anybody else
assistants
want
on
one
the
while-
side of him to do all this heavy lifting and toting.
Everybody's a flat end.
By the way, Noah always
You'd have
said
a
bless
couple
you
extra
when you were
copies at your desk.
Say we had you covered, all right?
What do we got here?
Came through the mic, but you might not have heard it.
No, he heard that. He said thank you.
We'll get to you.
No worries, take your time.
You're gonna grow, the coastal cultivators, you're gonna grow things on the coast?
No, we're cannabis cultivation. We're trying to move our manufacturing license down the street into a building there, so we need a special permit. It's
Gotta read it in first before we
Okay,
go
sure.
too far, sorry. I was,
Can't buy into Jim, he will get you into trouble.
you got me. What can I say?
Yes,
I
thank
will,
you.
if you weren't in trouble on your own, come see me.
Oh, maybe you're the guy that's.
Are you done now?
Done.
Okay.
Oh my gosh, that's heavy.
And everybody's turned everything that they want, anybody's kept everything that they want, and we can put this folder.
Wow, that planning department system has him.
This is good, it's good, it's our, part of a, we have a fitness program for our secretarial pool, and when they bring these big projects in here like this, they don't have to walk up and down the stairs to the 3rd floor and ask and genuflect to the town manager's office because they've carried that box across the parking lot. It's all part of the employee fitness program.
Oh, that's great.
So, and they don't do any cultivating, though. 1, 2, 3, 4. There you go.
Anybody, Chris has mints over here, anybody want a mint?
I'd like to.
Oh, is it chocolate? Is it Andy's
All
mint?
right, somebody went and got one, but she didn't offer, I'm sorry.
What, because I had one earlier?
Nothing for you.
I saw you
No
stuffing
mint
it
for
in
you.
your
I
mouth.
There
bet
were
you.
only 2 in there. I said, I can't offer.
I know, so there's one in there now, right?
Have it.
What, she gets
you
a
get
second,
these?
come on.
What is it? Sorry, they ate them all, son. What, she got, a root beer barrel?
It's a root beer. Oh, that's a root beer. It's a
Okay.
beer.
Don't you feel special that we all
I love
decided
it.
to
I get to see
start,
the whole
you know,
show.
Funny, a coastal cultivator comes up and everybody gets the munchies.
Thank you. Oh, if you have a mint, I'll take that, yeah.
Are we ready?
Yes.
Okay. The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing on March 26, 2025 at 6:30 PM in room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 6-25 for a special permit from the requirements of Article 3 of the Wareham zoning bylaws to Coastal Cultivators, Inc. of 23 Patterson Brook Road, Wareham, Mass. proposing to move their existing cannabis packaging license from 23 Patterson Brook Road to 4 Little Brook Road, Wareham, Mass., Assessors Map 89, Lot 2, in the Industrial Zoning District. That's it. It's
All right, name and address.
Krishna Gandhi, 23 Patterson Brook Road, Wareham, Mass.
All right, now tell us, what are you doing?
So we have a co-located cannabis license, manufacturing and cultivation at 23 Patterson Brook Road.
And that's when you go all the way at the end.
Exactly, yep. So we don't want to make any physical site changes to Patterson Brook Road. We just like to move the manufacturing license to 4 Little Brook Road so we can do our packaging there. We think that's going to be a more efficient and cleaner packaging environment than doing it in the greenhouses that we have now.
Is that the old New England basket site?
I'm not sure what was there before us. It's the further south building of the 2 on that lot, and it's just one of the units there.
So we go down,
On that main road.
you go down to the Rotary. If I go straight, if I go to the right, I go to like a machine shop or something. If I
Right.
go straight in, but if I go to the left, there's 2 big, long buildings.
Exactly.
I'm going to the left.
Yeah, you go into the left, and it's the right of the 2 long buildings furthest down the
So
end.
left and then quick right, that's where okay, I get
Yes,
it.
sir.
That's it.
Okay.
England.
No, that's not New England.
It's next to the moving company.
There's some landscape supply back in there.
Yeah, it's landscape supply, and then a moving
site
company,
one.
and then it's been vacant
Site
for...
one, and so you're in that building that Site 1's in,
Exactly.
and
The last unit that's been vacant
All the
for, I
way-
think, over a year.
all the way down the end where they cleared a bunch of trees.
No, this is in the existing building.
Yeah, but I mean, you're at the far end, you're not,
Yeah, far end, exactly.
okay.
Now, let me ask you, we granted you a permit, 20,000 square feet building to manufacture, so you're not gonna build that building?
No,
Do with the land?
that's still there. We offered it back to the landlord to, if they wanted to have it for their own use. They didn't want it, so basically the way the cannabis industry has changed since we started there, there's just not money to build a 20,000 square foot building.
And you're not expanding your greenhouses on that parcel?
No,
Then you decided to manufacture and rent space in that building for,
correct.
how big of a build, how big your?
It's 7,100 square feet, that unit. And we only need about half of that, but finding a landlord that's interested in working with cannabis, we have a relationship with the McCarthy's there, so pay our rent on time, and they know that we're going to continue to do that. So it's not easy to find areas that's zoned to allow cannabis, a landlord that's willing to do that, or their lender will allow them to do that.
So I was listening, but I didn't retain it all. You were gonna build a 20,000 square foot building?
That's what we grant them, yeah.
Oh, we can't grant, and that was gonna be, and you're replacing it with a 7,500 square foot rental unit, and you're only using half of it?
Correct. So when the special permit was first issued, yeah, that's correct. That was the assumptions the original developers had on this.
Okay.
This one, originally, everybody going.
Well,
Everyone's got-
I get it, yeah.
Crazy.
I'm trying to keep the operation going here, and
You're trying to keep the lights on.
exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah, we have
Not
about,
as good
it's
as-
not as good as everyone was.
Wait till
was
the feds
doing.
approve it, and then then CVS and Walgreens say, that's it, you
selling
guys are
it, yeah.
done.
Yeah, I think Colorado and Texas are going to flood the market at that point, but.
Yeah. But
That was
that's
the
all right.
idea from day one, but.
Yeah, that's,
Yeah, everyone,
Russian to
I think
build it.
any town you go to and talk about it, they say, yeah, everyone had really big dreams 10 years ago, and now we're just trying to run a profitable business and a little bit more realistic these days.
yeah. I watched it on the West Coast.
Definitely California, Colorado, a lot of
Anyway,
loss there.
Phil, we haven't done one of those for a while. What's they required, a site plan for this? What they required for that?
I don't believe a site plan
a
is
rental unit.
required. It's an existing building, you're just changing the interior tenancy.
Yeah, and how many parking spaces you have? How many employees for that?
We only have about 8 employees there. There's,
Cars.
yeah, there's usually 20 vacant spots there.
So you need a permission from us or a license or grant you permit to go to 4 what is it, Red Brook? Not Red Brook.
Little Brook
Little
Road.
Brook.
Yes, sir.
And 4 Little Brook, and what unit?
I believe it's designated Unit E.
Okay.
It's the zoning allows it in the industrial zoning use with a special permit
And
issuance.
that's where you make like cake and gums and whatever?
We're not going to do any of that. We're just going to do packaging. Yeah, so it would be covered by our manufacturing license. We're not trying to do any extraction or anything like that. It's just right now, we're making pre-rolls and packaging plastic bags in our hoop houses, and it'd be a lot cleaner and better and more efficient if we had a proper building for it.
Do you go to the state for safety, regular cameras?
Exactly.
The state will monitor that?
Yeah, they just won't touch this until they hear back from Wareham that we have local approval. So we submitted the change of address to them. They said Wareham has 60 days. I assume town's waiting to respond based on how this permit hearing goes.
Okay.
So it's an allowed use, they just need a special permit?
Yes, sir.
In order for the use to be allowed? It's allowed by special
It
permit?
is allowed by right, by special permit.
Yeah.
Okay, Troy, do you have a question on that?
I do not.
Veronica?
No questions.
No questions.
Richard?
No, no questions.
Chris?
No questions.
Connor? Nope. Anyone in the audience want to speak in favor or against this project? I hear none. So, the building, what we granted you, the permit's dead anyway, so you can't go build it now anymore. So, just so you're aware, the 20,000 square feet building, it's been over 2 years, so the permit's dead.
Okay.
So you can't decide to go build it. unless you
Understood.
Come back to us.
Okay, understood.
And so, okay. I don't know. Josh, you have any comment on this? Anything you want to add? No? I think there's not much to add.
So we would just be keeping the same conditions that was originally granted in the first permit?
Yeah, plus, these are monitored by the state. They get inspected by the state with the security cameras on all these things. This has nothing to do with us. That being said, well, let's close.
Did we offer the public a chance to speak and nobody wanted to?
Nobody wants.
Make a motion to close the public portion of this hearing?
Do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Troy. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jim?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, Nazir, aye. It's closed.
All right, thank you all for your time.
No, you gotta stay here. We're not done.
Oh, that's
We
right.
we just voted that you can't talk anymore,
Or anybody else.
but we can amongst ourselves. Now we can talk about you.
On the special permit, what's the wishes?
I make a motion to grant a special permit per request.
All right, with the standard condition?
Standard conditions, yep.
All right, and the finding not substantially detrimental. So we have a motion to grant the request of the gentleman as presented.
Second.
Second by Richard. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Aye.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, aye. Now you could go. Thank you.
Okay,
Aren't
thank
you
you.
glad you sat here all night and listened to everybody else for
Good
that?
show, I appreciate your time. I just do have one question. If is the special permit tied to the address or the entity? Like if we were to create a different entity for that, is that?
That's your business.
Okay.
Business.
I
You
just
could
wanted-
use the same company, but you have to ask your lawyer for your liabilities.
Sure, I just wanted to make sure that the special
could use
permit is
any
still
name.
tied to the address. So if we do that, that's not a new special permit process.
The special permit does go with the site, not
The special permit or for this address, for Little Brook.
Understood, thank you.
What you want to name it, what company was that, this is your thing.
Okay, perfect, thank
know?
you.
But you're allowed to use this site. Do
So-
you have a lease, before I go, you have a lease with that? You have
Yes, we
control
do
of
have
the
a lease on
property?
that. Yes.
You have control of it, right?
We do, yes.
Because you're, well, I didn't even look at it. You have a lease in here?
I think it's on there.
Because we can't grant you one if you don't have control of it.
I have a lease, I can,
But you do have, you testified that
I
you have.
testify that I have a
Our
lease.
our approval is subject to you providing a copy of the lease to be put in the file at a future date.
Understood.
Okay.
All right.
And with the license being able to be under a different entity, he would be able to
Don't matter.
create a different entity and keep packaging pot and stop growing it at the other place and cancel one lease and keep one open.
See, the license is for the property. You can't take it away from you. So you have a license for it here now.
Great,
Okay?
that's how it is in other municipalities, just
That's
wanted to
it.
confirm.
You're
Thank
good.
you.
Thank you. Yep.
All right, we move forward to 7-25, Kevin Welch, a use variance and a special permit for 2731 Cranberry Highway.
All righty.
How are you?
Let me read it in before you guys start. But, one here, 1, 2, 3. Are you coming for you three guys? I'll give one to Nazi. Thank you, sir.
Thank you.
1, 2, and I see some plans here under a different stack. You guys want some plans too?
I do.
Yes,
One for you. You guys can share one. And Richard, did you guys get a plan?
Too chunky, then you're gonna
Would you
feel
hand
the
that to
wrath.
Richard? Richard, there's a, Connor, if you want a plan, I've got one if you want to see it.
Yeah, I'll take it.
Okay. 'Cause I can look there. So now everybody can... Oh, I've even got another plan here in the, okay, so we're real good. The zoning board of appeals will hold a public hearing on March 26, 2025 at 6:30 PM in room 520 of the Wareham Multi-Service Center, 48 Marion Road, Wareham, Mass. 02571, to consider petition number 7-25 for a use variance and special permit for the site plan review from the requirements of Article 3, Table 320, and Article 15, Section 1520 of the Wareham zoning bylaws to Kevin Welch of 651 Orchard Street, Unit 308A, New Bedford, Mass. 02744, proposing construction of 2 contractor bay buildings with associated septic system, stormwater mitigation, parking, driveway, and landscaping located at 2731 Cranberry Highway, Wareham, Mass. This appears on Wareham Assessors Map 133, Lot 1003, in the MR 30 zoning district.
All right.
Name and address, gentlemen.
Thank you. Attorney Jeff DeLisi, I intended to wear a suit tonight, and
Me too.
I opened the bag, and there was no shirt, so. Next to me is Darren Grady from Grady Consulting, and next to him is Kevin Welsh, who is the applicant.
Okay.
All right. So essentially, this property is located in the MR 30 zoning district. The boundary of the property on the left, or the east sideline, is a commercial strip zoning district. It literally touches the property. That property boundary on the side is unusual, as it kind of tracks the movement of a brook that's over there. And so it's kind of darts back and forth in various directions. There are bordering vegetative wetlands on the site, as you can see from the plan. So there's a significant amount of features to the soil that are wet. There's also a portion of the property topographically that is an issue, and that being that most of the property is located in a flood zone and is low-lying. So the client, Mr. Welch, consulted with the building inspector, proposed this concept, which essentially is to create 2 buildings for use by tradesmen, such as plumbers and electricians, small general contractors, for purposes of kind of pulling their vehicles in, storing and salvaging their materials, and conducting some administrative business on the site within the building. There would be 5 contractor bays for each building, and Darren could speak to that more properly if necessary. Also, there are 22 parking spaces provided, and 21 parking spaces are required on the site. So from a zoning perspective, the parking is complied with, or proposed to be complied with. A use variance is necessary. This particular use is not mentioned in your use table. It's not prohibited, it's not allowed, it's not allowable. I happen to notice in the zoning district, salvage yards, which are facilities that could be indoors, are allowable on a special permit. But nonetheless, we've requested a variance because that's what the building inspector asked us to do. We understand that it's now necessary to appear before the planning board for a site plan review. We understand that that's a recent issue. We certainly have no problems with that. It's our position, though, that we need to know whether the use is allowable, whether that be by the grant of a variance or at the very least a straw poll from the board that indicates that we're headed in the right direction before we go off to the planning board and apply and expend, that resource. So essentially, this property being in the MR30 zoning district, that district, per your bylaws, is designed to encourage moderate and highly dense residential developments. And what we've determined based on the site, because of the challenges with the shape, soil, and topography, as we've discussed, the ability to comply with Title V provisions and put residential housing of moderate or high income, high densities in this property, very challenged, if not prohibited or prohibitive. And so that's one of the reasons why we're proposing this use, which we happen to note is consistent with properties in the neighborhood, such as the concrete products store across the street. The west property closest to these proposed buildings is, in addition to residential use, it's a mixed use, which has a boatyard marina feature to it. And so we think that this is something that kind of fits in with this particular area. And with that, if you'd like to hear from Darren, if you have any specific questions about his design, his site plan, he's here and happy to answer any questions.
All right, did you go to conservation yet?
We have not. So when we started, we were wondering about the use,
Right.
and it's taken us a while to get here, and now we understand we have to go.
Do you have the 200 foot from the stream? You are allowed to-
We are 200 feet from the stream. We do have to go to conservation because we're within the buffer zone of the bordering vegetated wetlands.
Right.
But we're not within the no-build strip.
Right.
So we'll be applying to conservation, planning, and health. And especially now, understanding that we have to go to the planning board, we'll probably be making those applications fairly simultaneous with one another.
So what you need from us, basically, a variance for the use, that's it,
We only need relief for the use.
the use. You don't need other variance, setbacks, anything.
Correct.
Unless the planning board, when you go say, oh, you need a variance for this, you have to come back.
Well, I suppose, but we don't need any dimensional variances where we comply with parking. And it would really be a building inspector call as opposed to a planning board call to tell us to get an additional variance, but correct.
All right, so board members, so all were we deciding on this project today, whether we could grant them a use variance. It's residential, it's across from Highway Concrete, if you guys know the area, which is, I totally agree, it should be commercial. So unfortunately, it's residential and he needs a variance, and they go to planning board, and the planning board will go through the site plan. So that's what we're here for. So I start with Troy. Do you have a question on that?
I do not.
Veronica?
Where did you say this is again?
Across from Highway Concrete, pretty much. It's that house like on a little hill, and it's all big green field in front of him.
Used to have a big old sign with red letters on it, for sale. Had a boat out in the yard, the grass was.
It's got a for sale sign forever
Do you remember the Stone Village Motel?
before that.
Huh? It's, I remember, the condos, when you come from the condos, when you come from Buzzards Bay heading towards Middleborough, if you will, on the left-hand side,
From Buzzards Bay
from that direction, you know what I'm saying? On Cranberry, heading north on Cranberry
If you're
Highway.
coming from Atlantic
Heading north,
Boat
you know,
going
north and
to-
south.
You're in Wareham.
Okay.
You're in
Okay.
Wareham.
If you're coming from Provincetown and going to Boston,
You'd be going north. You'd be going north, okay?
he has to say.
I was trying to mansplain it to her, but you know.
Well, actually, it was from.
So, okay.
Guys are doing a great job.
While she's trying to figure out where it is, when you were making your presentation, you said MR 30 allows junkyards, and I can't find that.
Yeah, you know, so it's on the last page of the zoning chart under industrial uses, and it's the third item from the bottom for junkyards and salvage yards in the MR 30s allowed by a special permit from the Board of Appeals.
Industrial,
Interesting, I never.
Yeah.
I can't find it, that's what I'm looking at the, what's the, do you have the?
I have page 13 on my bottom sheet.
You're on page 13, wireless communications and
Third from the bottom, industrial.
one,
You have
page
updated
13.
ones?
I have an updated one, I just printed it off your website.
Phil.
So this is the zone.
What this is, October 24th.
Wow. I think we should change this.
Transportation uses, see,
Do you know you could have a junkyard on the MR 30?
If you don't mind,
That's insane.
I might be able to.
yeah.
Yeah, I was shocked to see that.
That hold us
So,
over our heads. We're gonna put a junkyard there.
bam, right
Can,
there.
can you bring
Okay.
it to Paul's attention? Maybe we apply to change it on next town meeting because it doesn't make sense. Or it's a typo.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Maybe we'll bring it the next town meeting in October or whatever.
I'm
To
just doing
change
what
this
Niles was saying
bylaw.
to change it.
Because that's a special permit. It's easy to beat.
It says the same thing.
It just pulled at me. I'm sure it did you as well, so.
It should be a no, Josh. And-
Yep.
All right.
I agree.
Okay, very well. Where were we?
So the question was, what's in front of us is, do we think it's okay to have a contractor's building, or what are you calling
A
it?
tradesman,
Condo, tradesman condo, right?
sure, yeah.
A contract, yeah, I know it's
Yep.
often, but you're not doing a front and a back. It's all gonna be from one side if I look at the plan
The
quickly.
entrance to each building is from the same direction on one side.
It's all one side. It's not like sometimes, you know, one side, you go into the office, you go around to the back, and there's a loading dock and a warehouse in the back. This is just gonna be all front end.
Yeah, you'll come in from the street.
Yeah.
The buildings will be perpendicular to the
There might be a
street to
door
the
in the
right.
back, but that's just to escape in case of a fire.
Yes,
Correct.
yep.
Okay, so that's the end, I'll comment that Cranberry Highway was always stripped commercial from the Middleborough line to the Buzzards Bay line, on Route 28. And then, you know, along the way, a few people had private residences and they got on some kind of a local board and they slipped, you know, zoning changes in. And so it's not all stripped commercial anymore, but typically, you know, that was the road to the Cape. And I'll reiterate that I don't have a problem with the use.
What's the current elevation now there? I can't see it here. What's the current elevation as it stands? The existing elevation. You don't have contours here, I don't see contours.
Second page on the top.
It's a fairly flat, which is why it appears to not have,
13.1, does that make
That
sense?
sounds right.
So you're gonna fill it to like 14.2 or something?
Yeah, the slab elevation is, hold on one sec. I can't read it.
I noticed when I looked at the plans prior to the meeting that you gotta put in a high nitrogen system, so you must have a pretty high water table there and.
top floor 16.
That's what we're anticipating. We're in floodplain, so we need to raise those up to 15.
And you're putting the septic under the driveway in front of the units, is that?
There's no driveway there, but it's in the front yard.
The part, yeah, okay. It's
Where are you gonna put the septic?
It's in the front yard, so in the front
under the
setback.
parking.
And you have enough separation from the drainage? You have,
Yes,
you have
we
50
do.
feet?
So the drainage is in between, under the driveway on the second building in. And we also have a swale along the east side of the driveway.
I'm just curious, that would be planning board, but you need that separation between drainage and septic.
Yes, correct.
Did you go to Board of Health yet?
No, we wanted to check we thought the use variance was the largest hurdle here.
Right, exactly. Yeah, quick, the 150 foot away from wetland, how does it work for the septic from when it's a river? Yeah, if you have 200, you're good?
Well, it's 200 feet from the brook,
There's no
which
activity
is
zone.
not the wetland.
I know, there's no activity zone when it's a brook,
Yeah.
200 feet, right? But in Wareham, the bylaw, that has nothing to do with us, but just curiosity. I know when you put a septic in Wareham, you have to be 150 feet from the wetland. I don't know how does it apply to a brook.
Got nothing to do with the 200-foot thing, it's got to do with...
That's what I don't know.
I always thought it was 100, but I guess the setback
we
on Title
check-
V, it's a Title V question, right?
It's a 150, yeah.
Local.
It's not a zoning question, it's just, you know...
Just curious, no big
Yeah.
deal. All right, Richard, question.
None.
Chris? Connor?
No questions.
No, just, like you said, I think it's appropriate. I mean, highway concrete's right across the street and.
Right. Anyone on the public in favor of this project? Anyone against? Okay, just, all right. You wanna add anything else?
No?
Well,
You have a comment, Josh? So we only, if the board say yes, we're only granting you a variance for the use, right? You don't need any other variances.
That's correct.
Okay, so we don't want you to come back and,
Just,
okay.
and just because we say that would be an okay use, you get it, now you gotta go deal with the Health
Planning board.
Department and the Conservation Commission and the Planning Board.
Correct. Yeah,
They'll all be a joy to work with.
yeah, I'm sure.
Be there for
I
long, yeah.
We
'Cause if
we
you
were
need a variance,
we were
you'll
here
be
for a
in
long
2
time
years.
tonight, too.
We'll see you back in 2
Oh,
years.
you want to compare the time you spent here tonight to the time you're gonna spend in front of each of those boards? Ha.
Yeah.
So, let's be honest.
All right.
Let's not hold, so I make a motion to close.
What do you wanna say before?
I was gonna suggest I don't know if this town, custom, I'm more than happy to draft the decision if you want me to.
On this variance? Yeah, why not? Sure,
Okay.
just draft it.
Yep.
Makes our life easier.
Okay.
All right,
Motion to close public portion of this hearing.
okay, do I have a second?
Second.
Second by Troy. All in favor to close 7:25, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica? Jim?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, Nazi, aye.
Public portion is
This one-
closed.
This is closed.
Make
Okay,
a motion to grant a special permit.
the variance.
Are we gonna do a special permit or a variance?
Variance.
Variance, I'm sorry, I make a motion to grant a variance
A use variance, yeah.
from the bylaws for the use as a contractor's a building.
Okay, so we have a motion to grant the variance, and we believe the variance meets statutory requirement of MGL 40A, Section 17, wasn't it?
Section 10.
Section 10, sorry, 17, the appeal period, right? Section 10. It meets statutory requirements, so do I have a second on that?
Second.
Second by Richard. All in favor, say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Abstain.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, aye. It carries. You got 4,
Thank you.
1, 0. Thank you.
401.
Thank you.
401, sorry. And
Making sure.
Veronica is abstaining.
Have a good
Good
night.
luck, guys.
Thank you. Yeah, you need the luck. Okay, before we all go, we need to
You want to
bring,
hand those, oh, thank you.
we need to bring a small change, hopefully to town meeting. And we're gonna bring it to planning board, present it to planning board, and hopefully we'll put it on the warrant for this town meeting. And it would say,
Go ahead.
It's on section, Article 15, Section 1552, Site Plan Review, 1552.2, Site Plan Review Authority, and we would like the language to say, 1, the Site Plan Review Authority should determine by Article 3, Article 15, column 1552, comma, and elsewhere in the bylaws, the Site Plan Review Authority shall be the planning board, provided, however, that where the applicable development requires a special permit or a variance from the Board of Appeal, the Site Plan Authority under Article 15, columns, land use permitting requirement of this bylaw shall be the Zoning Board of Appeal. And is it? Or take other action relative, therefore, is that included, the bottom line?
That's just standard
Yes.
language for town meeting articles. I think the other thing you want to add to that is number 5 of powers of the zoning board of appeals
Okay.
to hear and decide as site plan review authority applications for site plan review as provided in Article 3, this article, and elsewhere in the bylaw. That's another addition to the current zoning bylaw.
Okay. Does anybody understand what's going on?
No,
All right, well,
explain it.
for some reason, in a case just like this, we used to be, when you apply for a variance, you come to us, it becomes, the bylaw used to be one-stop shop. You come to variance, we do the site plan. For some reason, somebody, I don't know who did change it. Most likely, I believe the planning board changed the bylaw. We just found out 5 months later that they changed it. You come to a variance, then you go for a site plan with
I was wondering why
them.
they left. I was like,
Right.
yeah.
Usually, this is an easy variance. Usually, the reason we wanted to do, well, I suggest we should be a one-stop shop, because usually when you come for a variance on a project that's complicated, this is a fairly easy one. We'll have to go through the whole thing and study a few hearings to decide if we're gonna grant a variance or not. So if we do all that work, why not do the site plan review right there? Why waste our time and their time and to go back there? And that's why I would like to present it, and hopefully it goes to town meeting and get approved.
So,
That's what it is.
under the current rules, is it my understanding that somebody could come to us and we could ask for a peer review and send them through that whole process, and then they would have to go to the planning board and have to go through a second peer review?
Correct.
And, okay.
So
So-
it's like double the work for everybody. I don't know why.
And double the time for the, so,
Everybody.
on this paper that we're looking at, is what's being changed just what's in bold on this paper?
That's correct.
And everything else is existing language in the bylaw? So it's this yellow stuff here that was bolded?
That's correct.
That will bring it back the way it used to be before October 10 to 2023.
And the part that's crossed out is,
To be removed, yep.
okay.
All right, so if you guys are in favor, I'd like to have a motion to send it to planning board and to town meeting, and we have a motion to accept it.
Yes, I move that we accept this suggested language change and get it in front of the town as soon as possible.
Okay, we have a motion. Okay, we have a motion by Jim to accept this bylaw to go before planning board and hopefully makes it to the warrant. Do I have a second? I will second that. If no second, all in favor say aye. Troy?
Aye.
Veronica?
Abstain.
Jimmy?
Aye.
Richard?
Aye.
And myself, aye, it carries. So we'll see how far it goes. Thank you. Can we get a motion to adjourn? Anything else before we adjourn?
I think, I do want to make a comment, actually, and these larger 40B projects that are coming before us, I think we should be asking for more from them.
You could ask whatever you want.
Actually, Makepeace does a really good
What do you mean, more money or more?
No. But actually, I was thinking about the fact that all of these projects are coming before us, and then I imagine the state is gonna probably do it anyway, but all of their, mechanicals are gonna have to be electric. So how can these facilities come before us, these 100 and something
Don't be
apartments?
specific on the
No, I'm
project.
just saying 100 something, whatever,
general,
projects
yeah.
that come before us, and they're gonna be putting in an immense draw on the grid. In whatever area that they're in, they should have to start supplying some of their own electricity for these things. And that's, the fossil fuels and all the other sources of, fuel are gonna be gone. So I feel like that's something that,
I mean, what are you gonna do, tell them build a plant? I don't think it's reasonable.
Well,
Well, on that line, the way that we, how do I talk about a different person than other than that
Just
came
in general, don't just be,
in
don't be
general, these
specific.
Parking lots, areas, top of roof buildings, all that stuff. And especially if people are gonna be putting charging stations on, those things take quite a bit of energy. I always see them have to have their own, like I think over in the shopping plaza at the crossings, whatever that huge brown thing is next to it, must be a inverter to take regular power and invert it to that.
Right.
So they're gonna have to be putting all those in. And I don't believe I saw that on any of the,
Well, I'm sure when any project, even when I built small plaza down the street, I had to bring in high voltage line and bring it to a transformer and bring it down to 380 or 110 and 220. You'll have to regardless. Once you go over 400 amp, you have to bring your own transformer. And it'll be sized by engineer and stuff to what you need. They'll make a list, how many condensers, how many stoves and this. But any projects that comes before you with the 40B, you could ask the moon, you could ask whatever you want. But just
remember, you don't always get what you ask for.
exactly, and just to remind you, a 40B, it's a simple majority vote, not a
Supermajority.
super majority. It's a simple, so 3 votes only.
it doesn't hurt to ask
No,
for
of
some of the
course,
things that we
yeah.
want.
If it was my project, I build solar everywhere on top of the parking lot. I'll save in plowing,
I feel like
but
it's
if it
gonna
was
end up,
me.
it's not a zoning issue, it's just, I was thinking about it, I'm like, the tremendous draw that the change in fuel for all these units that are right on one spot
Well,
is
here's-
gonna be a lot on the grid.
I agree with you, and I'm in favor of what you're trying to propose. I know what Nazi said is, we could say, we want it, we want it, we want it, and then they could say, well, we don't want to do it, and just go to the state and appeal what our decision and not be, but I agree with the idea of really trying to push for it,
Just don't dig your heels in too hard, because they're probably gonna get pulled out in
Yeah.
a hurry.
I just don't,
Just remember, when they bring their people with them, they got a purpose. They ain't doing much other than their plans.
well, they've already spent what it would cost to put solar panels up on the consultants.
Yeah, right?
Don't be specific.
Oh, I didn't say they, any applicant.
They in
Any
general,
applicant
yeah.
would be spending that kind of money. Imagine,
I mean,
just,
to be honest, speaking of power, all these new hertz rating, all these building codes, they don't let you put any more, like a furnace in your house. They want a heat pump. I don't know how they're gonna get power. You go if you go pull a permit right now for a house that's 4,000 square feet and over,
Yeah.
you have to do your heat pump, electric stove, and you can't
That's
have
what I'm
gas,
talking about.
or propane or oil, so.
you cannot have fossil fuel.
Yeah, so I
Period.
don't know how they're gonna do it, but
I think I heard in the area
That's,
that burned out in California, you can put the houses back, but they have to be 100% electric.
over here,
Everything in that area that burned, they're cutting the red tape, but you have to have it 100% electric.
over here, it's 4,000 square feet of electric. I don't know how they're gonna get it.
I know they
I'll
do it on the
make a
Cape.
motion to close the hearing.
Yeah, motion to adjourn, so, okay, here,
Second.
second, all in favor, say aye, Troy. Aye. Veronica. Jim.
Aye.
Rich.
Aye.
Myself, aye, we adjourn, thank you. See you next time.
Fearlessly